Hello. How are we? Welcome in, everybody. Welcome in. Kia ora. Dim, D. Middleton. Hello. Baby Walk. Welcome. Kia ora, Fix Today. Hey, Doug. Welcome, everybody. All right. As promised in the morning, today we are going to be speaking about global markets. What the hell is going on with global markets? We need to know. What up, Hussein? Hey, Faye. Welcome, welcome. Let's get the music on. We back. How am I feeling? I'm feeling good. I'm feeling good. I'm feeling good. Nervous that Ginger's D-Day is coming up. Sunday is the day when we'll know whether his surgery has, been accepted by his body, really. So, I'm feeling nervous. Walaikum assalam, Jujus. Welcome. It's a nerve-wracking time for the family. A nerve-wracking time. Why I get triggered by your accent? Maybe your parents have it and they dropped you when you were a baby or something. I don't know. Wait, what happens if it doesn't? Nothing good, Jujus. Nothing good. Nothing good happens. Kia ora, my clothes brush. Welcome. Hey, Sophia. I'm feeling positive about it being successful. Oh, thank you, Fix Today. That's nice to know. All right. Let's go. I think I hope it'll be good. He's eating, which is nice. Nice to see. But we can't tell. It's out of our control. He's getting the best possible care. And I hope everything goes well. That's all we can do. Anyway, today in this live, we're going to go over how China's really rewriting global markets with all its announcements recently. It's been quite big, huge, and hopefully we can learn a little bit more from all the doomers at the moment in mainstream media. All right, here we go, guys. Settle in.
The China threat.
We're starting off with Fox News. China is catching up. The warning every AI investor heard. Damn, what a way to start.
The China threat, folks, this is the big question. Is it really destroying the AI trade? For me, I trace all of this back to late June. Remember when Apple started whining about memory costs, and then they suggested out loud that they would love to be able to use those chips from China? CMH, the semiconductor index, it closed at 655. The high, that was a high on June 30th. And since then, as you can see, it's been timber. Then came that Kimi K3 shocker. Of course, that scared everyone. And of course, since then, everyone from Jensen to Elon jumping on the open source bandwagon. Well, guess what? The valuations of OpenAI and Anthropic, they are now beginning to take major hits. U.S. frontier model companies, listen, they have billions of dollars in contracts that they owe. They fund these compute stuff. So put the dominoes together, folks. This is Anthropic, which was unstoppable. Meanwhile, China AI exports are absolutely through the roof. So the big question now is, to what degree is this killing the AI rally, or in some odd way, does it actually enhance the value proposition? I'm going to bring in now Barbara Duran, BD8 Capital Partners, the founder and CEO. So, you know, it's really, there's a lot of anxiety out there. There was always a lot of anxiety about the return on investment, but the conversation has changed because this seems to be
Mia, kia ora. Welcome.
Yeah, and I know what I liked what you said at the end is, or does this validate things?
Right.
You know, and I think that's really the key question, because people are freaking out about a lot of things. Return on investment, we're not seeing the monetization. China's coming in, pricing will go down, but the fact is demand is overwhelmingly strong and looks like it's just continuing to increase. You know, particularly when you look at autonomous vehicles and robots and everything else, that's going to continue. And if you look, when you start to drill down into the China issue, I mean, you look at, say, the memory stock that just went public, they're doing DRAMs. That's a commodity. That is not where the AI chip demand is.
And yet, Hynix came in a little less than expected because they're doing HBMs, which, you know, it's a smaller market, but that's where it's going, to your point. So the street can't grapple with things. A few months ago, you and I kind of talked about ASML. Are they under threat, right? Not long ago, they were 10 to 15 years away. Now they're debuting something very similar to Chinese. So.
Oh, my gosh. Okay, ASML. ASML, check this out. Check this out, TikTok. Check this headline out. Oh, my gosh. ASML CEO says China is 10 to 15 years behind in chip-making capabilities on December the 25th, 2024. And then ASML drops after news of China chip tool rival. Woo! That ain't the story. That ain't the story anymore after 1.5 years. After 1.5 years, China is not 15 years behind anymore. Holy moly, man. China has made up so much room. That gap between China and the West now is nothing. That didn't age well at all. Holy shit.
The question is, does the West, particularly America, still have that technology edge?
I think right now we do. You know, that seems to be clear. But it does seem that China is catching up. But you're still going to have very big differences in whether you're looking at manufacturing like Taiwan Semi, which maybe we'll talk about later, which really has state-of-the-art manufacturing, the highest end that you can't replicate very quickly or easily. So you really have to break it down. But I think given our culture in the...
No, we're just talking about chip making, bro.
Innovation doesn't matter. China has their centralization of money. We have the innovation drive.
Okay, so the fate now hyperscalers.
Hey, Coco Millie.
You can see now they're all getting absolutely hammered. Apple, of course, is standing out in the crowd. It was getting hammered before.
Oh my gosh. Okay, check this out. Check this out, guys. Check this out. Look at this. Look at these graphs. This is all the major big tech stocks right now. Apple is the only one heading upwards. Everything else is getting absolutely demolished. Absolutely demolished. Like, look at this. Wow. Unreal. Unreal, folks.
Incoming raid detected. Thank you, Raiders. Welcome. Hope you stick around and hit that follow button.
Shiny! Shiny! Hello, Shiny. How are you? Thank you for the raid, Shiny. Shiny, first things first. We've got to sort out, obviously, the first part of what everyone wants to know. Have you broken any world records yet? Have any world records fallen? Are you now on speedrunning.com's top 3? What's happening?
Before it wasn't making investments. Now everyone's saying maybe they were smart not to make these investments. What's the...
No world records, but we're improving bit by bit. That's what I like to hear. That's what I like to hear. Folks, if you want to see some incredible speed running, Shiny Mikachu's the one to follow. Some Metroid speed running. check Shiny out.
Fate of these companies.
Well, I think right now there's a lot of buying opportunities. When you look at the growth rate, we're not talking about just the next 6, 12, 18 months. Right. Like a Micron, right. You know, the supply constraints are there at least through 27, and now it's sounding like even through 28. And the same with NVIDIA. I mean, everybody's concerned.
Whoa, shortages from Micron have been announced not just for 27, but also through 28. Wow. We're never going to get RAM at a good price, are we? I hope China just pumps RAM into the market and makes it super cheap. Come on, China, do your thing. Do your thing. We need the RAM. Hey, Ash, welcome.
About their funding, their customers, but this is what you do when you need to meet demand.
There's a chart out there with their CDS payments through the roof, but it really is only 6% chance of default. To your point. And the free cash flows, if you're patient, between now and 2030 will go to places they've never been before. You brought up Micron. I'm going to bring up here a little schematic because I talked about CXMT. Right now, about 7% of the global market. Micron, you think, is in the sweet spot, though, right now?
Yeah, I do. And I do. And it's really because of the supply issue. In the past, I mean, this really was a commodity company where you'd have quarter-to-quarter contracts. If that, the PE would be 6 to 8. These puppy gifts are cute. Right now, the PE is below 6, and they have sustainable growth for at least the next 2 years. So I think it deserves a higher PE.
The PE is low because historically it's been one of these industries where they've had no pricing power. And every now and then they'll get it, but they'll have it for a brief moment in time. You think so? Your suggestion is a new paradigm, that they've gotten to a level and that the market's got to catch up to that. They're not going to lose this pricing power.
Not for a while to come. I mean, it was really DRAM commodity, which is still a commodity, right. But you can really look at them more as an AI infrastructure play because everything they're doing is feeding in to all the AI demand, whether it's data centers, robots, etc.
You mentioned Taiwan Semi again, just unstoppable, beautiful chart, starting to break down a little bit. It's been below the 50-day before, but it's usually bounced back sooner than this in free fall.
Oh my gosh. Hold on, TikTok. I have to show you guys this as well. TSM. Oh my gosh. Holy sheesh. It is dropping off a cliff, everybody. This is chip making. The whole chip making industry, technology as a whole at the moment, the tech sector stocks are just getting hammered right now. Just completely demolished. You love to see it? Oh, yeah, totally. There's finally competition against the West. There's finally competition. Even with all of, all the weaponizing of global institutions, all the violence and gangsterism and tariffs and sanctions, it's happening. It's happening, everybody. What are we exactly looking at? Oh, these are tech stock prices. So China released China just said something very very important, and the markets are getting hammered because of it. So a bit of context here. Thank you for asking, Fix, today. A bit of context here. China just a few days ago, maybe a week ago, through its company, I think CXMT or one of those companies, said that they will be building and launching 5 DUV machines, ultraviolet lithography machines. And these machines are almost to the same level as Western chip-making machines. Okay? Western chip-making machines. So chip-making has been the cornerstone of the West, talking about its technology supremacy, right? So chip-making has been super tightly protected by the West. But now China has said this year they're going to be launching 5 of these chip-making machines, and next year 20 of those chip-making machines. And it's huge because it closes the gap so much between China and everybody else in the West. Good to see you too, Jaja, welcome. It closes the gap so much that the technology stock prices were all based on, you know, the West being on the frontier of AI, of chip making, of so many different things. But now that China has said, oh, wait, we can now match you guys, or, you know, just about match you guys on chip making technology. After China announced this, the technology stocks on the stock market are completely getting smashed. And this is a Taiwanese company that has been, look at this Taiwanese company, okay? Look at this line on here that has been just like, you know, it's the line's going up, or was going up. And then China announced. Look at the immediate reaction after China announced. It's the craziest reaction by the market in a long time. And it's not just happening with one or two companies, happening across Western tech stocks and Asian tech stocks too. Even Chinese stocks are being impacted by this news. It's just the most insane moment. And it's actually quite big. It means that China can become completely independent on the chip making side, which was the last real bit of control the West had. I mean, they'll have other little bits here and there, but it was the last major thing. You know, Nvidia wanted to sell chips to China, but what did the US do? The US said, no, you can't sell chips to China. So China was like, okay, bro, we'll just make our own shit. And so they did. Now, Western supremacy on frontier technology doesn't exist anymore. Or at least the gap has been closed by a long way. And this is why you're seeing these pundits freak the fuck out, because it's bad. It's bad because the Western stock markets were all highly valued the way they were because they were supposed to be on the frontier innovating. But it's not that way anymore. Hey, welcome, I Read Good. Welcome. It's transformational stuff. We've been talking about transformational moments. It's happening bit by bit right now.
Unnecessary buying opportunity?
I think it's a buying opportunity. Yeah. Nothing's changed for them. You know, and people say,
oh, folks, buy the dip. That's her advice. Buy the dip, everybody. Buy the dip.
Well, China, geopolitical, et cetera, but I think it's really down with the whole group and semis and what's happening there, so I think there's a buying opportunity.
You also like Eli Lilly, and I think that speaks for itself. For now, they've won the GLP war with Novartis.
And all the applications that will come from that. Right. This is a huge...
This company, Eli Lilly, I despise this company, man. They are huge, and they have so much, like, they have a monopolistic control of medicine, of like different medicine. They make so much profit from all of this stuff.
Pipeline.
Absolutely phenomenal. Real quick, I want to ask you about these earnings after the bell. Microsoft, Meta, there are a couple of keys you say to look for. For Microsoft, you say Azure growth. That's what it's all about. And for Meta, ad revenue. What exactly do you want to see?
Well, on Microsoft with the Azure, that's obviously key. They came in at 40+.
Prices are starting to trend down.
And,
interesting.
And this time it's expected to be the same. But it's also, you want to see what they're saying about CapEx, because they've been sort of very cautious and careful about it. So
I just came here from another channel talking about AI. We're talking about more than AI, but yeah, AI is part of it, Kez.
Suddenly they explode or they pull back, it could be an interesting signal. So we'll see what they say there, because it's really about the sustainability of a cloud business. Right. Yeah, and Meta question right now is not just, it's clear they've monetized all their AI investment to really up their engagement, their advertising, responsiveness, and revenue, but now they're spending even more. And so people want to hear them articulate, what is the end game there?
What? The heck was that?
The China
buying opportunities. When you look at the growth rate, we're not talking about just the next 6, 12, 18 months. You're like, what's happening there? So I think there's a buying opportunity.
You also like Eli Lilly, and I think that speaks for itself. For now,
sorry guys,
Microsoft, Meta, there are a couple of keys you say to look for. For Microsoft, you say...
I saw a cheaper SSD today too, $329 for 2 terabytes. that could be a sign of moving stock. Interesting.
Azure growth. That's what it's all about.
The CIA got me. My browser
exactly
refreshed.
Do you want to see?
Well, on
CIA didn't do
Microsoft with
shit.
the Azure, that's obviously key. They came in at 40 plus percent, and this time it's expected to be the same. But it's also you want to see what they're saying about
Help
CapEx
me.
because they've been
Hello.
very cautious and careful about it. So suddenly they explode or they pull back, it could be an interesting signal. So we'll see what they say there because it's really about the sustainability of a cloud business. Yeah, and Meta. Question right now is not just it's clear they've monetized all their AI investment to really up their engagement, their advertising,
Yo, Palfax,
responsiveness,
welcome.
and revenue, but now it's they're spending even more, and so people want to hear them articulate what is the end game there. Where do we see that playing out?
15 seconds. The catch-22 coming into earnings season. They said if these hyperscalers pull back on their spending, the whole rally dies. Google didn't pull back, and the rally is dying. What do you want to see? You want to see steady? We're going to keep throwing money at this, or you want to see a pullback?
Well, in the short run, I mean, investors, if you pull back, you're saying, okay, then we're wrong. There's not the opportunity. I think they're spending as they need to. I mean, let's remember Amazon.
Right.
Amazon, for the time they went public, for 6 more years, made no money because they were reinvesting it, and I owned the stock then, and you had to live through incredible drawdowns.
Bezos set the standard. He took a lot of heat. He pushed back on Wall Street, and anyone who held tight with him made a fortune.
You got it.
Great stuff, Barbara. Appreciate it.
Yeah. Okay. China's catching up. That's
OpenAI.
I think that's terrifying the West at the moment. I really do. The markets are reacting that way, not because, this is just a blip. The markets are reacting that way because they are looking at China very closely. Whatever China does is going to have a big impact. No one can deny that. The markets are not denying that. It's all there for everybody to see. Of course it is. You can all see it. Now let's look at Kes. We're going to be talking about AI for a little bit here. So maybe you were right. Musk, Zuckerberg, and Altman clash over AI's future. This is leading us into the results released by Meta. This is leading us into the results that were released by Meta that have made Meta stocks go down a fair bit as well. So we are going to be going through kind of a journey in understanding what's happening in global markets today.
AI Chief Sam Altman is visiting Washington to meet White House officials and lawmakers to discuss artificial
Fida, where are you getting this information from?
intelligence policy. His visit comes at a particularly sensitive.
Please mention your source when you type stuff. Otherwise, just mention your source. Mention your source, please. Anyone who puts news in the chat, please mention your source.
Moment days after an OpenAI
Thank
test
you.
model
Thank you for saying
escaped the
your
lab
source.
environment and hacked into a different company. And it comes as staffers from frontier AI companies call for a slowdown in AI development in an open letter. Well, as intense debate rages over how the U.S. should regulate the fast-developing technology and respond to Chinese competition, Mark Zuckerberg says the U.S. government should not block Chinese AI. The CEO of Meta is also making the case for bringing superintelligence to more people. In an article for the Wall Street Journal, he says that can boost innovation and empower people.
Hey, Pickle Christopher,
CNN
welcome.
tech reporter.
The reason why they don't want to block China from getting into the markets is because the more they block the global south from getting these models, the less customers they'll have. Because the West does not have a big percentage of the world, does it? You can't just make money in the West anymore. You're going to miss a huge amount of the middle class, in particular, growing middle class in the global south. So they need to allow China to play so that they can play in China. But China won't just allow them to play freely in China either. So they're kind of fucked. I think Meta in particular, its report was so underwhelming. We'll talk about it in a sec.
Claire Duffy joins us now from New York. So much to break down here. The timing of this op-ed from Mark Zuckerberg, Sam Altman's visit,
hey, Nico.
Each signaling something quite different. Sam Altman quite concerned, perhaps, just about what.
Guys, just so you know, I'm a little sick. I've had a cold for a few days. I haven't just, done a fat line in the toilet, hence like me sniffing. My sniffing has been there for a while. I don't do fat lines. I'm not a fat line person. Okay? I don't do drugs.
Happened with their model last week, and Mark Zuckerberg seems to be envisioning a completely different future for AI. Just talk to us about the timing and what both of these men are arguing.
Yeah, Bianna, it's really interesting because Mark Zuckerberg seems to be trying to shift the narrative around AI away from.
I agree, and it is absolutely brilliant what China has achieved with chip making. It was inevitable to happen, especially how Nvidia and some others were trying to choke the tech with monopoly. But honestly, I don't think I will use the word West in this context. Did Latvia or Latvian companies create this monopoly, or Bulgaria? So let's call a spade as it is. That is America corporatocracy and kleptocracy, but I get what you mean. It's not just that though. The EU, when you look at the EU, right, and you look at the UK, they have followed very closely with American policy. They have, for example, they have put tariffs on Chinese EVs. They have put tariffs on various different products that come from China. So the attitude of the West towards China has created this China. The globalization of the global South, like that whole period of globalization, is what created China the way it is today. So to say that the West as a whole isn't responsible for what's happening to the West right now is I think is misleading, because globalization was meant to be, we will continue to exploit labor from the global South, and we will make all the money. So it was colonization 2.0, you could say, because they didn't want to have boots on the ground anymore, but they still wanted the money, right? They still wanted the wealth extraction. And the G7 is very aligned on this. So, yeah, the West is extremely, extremely involved in this moment. And it's not just America. Look at where ASML is, right? ASML is like a Dutch company that creates these EUV machines, these ultraviolet lithography machines. And they don't sell to China. So the spade is the West. I am calling the spade a spade. To exclude EU and the UK and Canada from this, is not right, because they're very much complicit in trying to hold the global South down.
From some of these sort of doomerism scenarios that leaders in the industry like Sam Altman have laid out here. And in large part, I think Meta is trying to speak to the public here. And
in Sweden, you can't buy certain phones from China, and they are not allowed to have Google on the Chinese phones. Did you know that? Oh, right. Yeah. I mean, I can understand why China blocked Google in particular. I mean, China's closed off its economy, but the thing that the West didn't bet on is globalization causing such a big problem and such massive reliance on China. Like they didn't think about that. They were too concerned about looting the global South again. They just wanted to continue to loot the global South, but they fucked it up. So here we are.
So there we are.
Paint a rosier picture of what the AI future.
Has China equaled ASML lithography machine? No, it's one level down, but it's not far away. So it's got this thing called DUV, which is which isn't the same level as EUV, which is extreme ultraviolet lithography, or some I don't know what the full acronym folded out is. But ASML has EUV, but most of the chips made today, like the high percentage of chips made today can be made using DUV. It's not as good. EUVs can go to lower, like smaller scale, but it's not by much. It's just a small improvement. So DUVs are more than enough for the market to freak out.
Could look like. In this op-ed, Mark Zuckerberg wrote, quote, "Humanity has witnessed many transformative advances. Each time there is fear that people will be left behind, but each time humanity has come out with more people sharing greater prosperity, health, and freedom.
You might be
we
right
believe
there,
this will be
Dusty
true with AI as well, and the abundance of the future can be shared by everyone."
This word they're using now, abundance, I'm worried about that. They're starting to use that word a lot. It's absolute bullshit. Abundance is like this thing that they're trying to say that everyone will have access to everything. Do you think billionaires will ever let people have access to everything they have access to? No fucking shot, bro. They are not going to do that. Let's be real.
Also really trying to stake out.
So, like, this whole abundance bullshit, don't buy into it, please. Please do not fall for this abundance crap. It's all a lie. It's all a lie, folks. It's all a lie. Hold up. Just one sec. Let me just move the screen a little bit this way. There you go. There you go. Isn't that perfect? Isn't that perfect? Oh, look at that. Hold up. Oh, beauty. Just a little crossover here. There you go. Nice.
Meta's position in this ongoing debate in the industry about how accessible these advanced AI models should be.
Hey, Kiki.
And really sort of not calling them out by name, but
they wanted to destroy organized labor in the Western developed nations by offshoring to China, and now capital is finding it is losing its relative power as a result. Yeah, the West just deindustrialized. The West stopped making things. And it wasn't making things. It couldn't make the things that China and India and Asia could make because the scale just wasn't there. The West basically just wanted to use global South, the global South's labor, to continue to just live privileged lives. But that has backfired completely.
Directing attention to.
That's why in America, now that they're deporting all of the brown people and the black people who, are in the country without what they're calling illegal people, white people will be picking avocados and cotton. Imagine that, white people picking cotton. Incredible turn. White people picking cotton, white people delivering your Uber. Holy shit. Think about that for a second.
Leaders in this industry like OpenAI and Anthropic that have advocated for restricting access to the most advanced AI models. That is part of what Altman and others are in Washington this week to talk about. But Mark Zuckerberg said that he believes that's the wrong path and that we should be focused on open access to this technology. I'll just read you another portion.
They don't have the melatonin to do it.
Of his piece. He says, if only a handful of institutions have super intelligence, they will inevitably exercise a controlling influence over economics, science, and politics. Even with the best intentions, that concentration would limit people's ability to choose their own future. But it's interesting, Bianna, because on one hand, Mark Zuckerberg is saying there needs to be open access to this technology. On the other hand, Meta this year just released its first closed source AI model, which restricts what people can do with it, after Zuckerberg had previously advocated for open source technology. So there is some tension, I think, between.
But what you're seeing in the whole AI thing and in the chip making side of things is this is how the West has worked for a very long time, where the West has black boxed things, access, especially to education material, especially to different types of technology, because there has been no competition, right? The West produced everything because the West centralized all the resources that it stole, and it used violence to continue to keep the global South down. It kind of had a monopoly on the global economy. But they're trying that with AI and chips at the moment, but it's not working because it's not the way it was anymore. It's not the way it was. The world's truly opening up. It's truly opening up right now, and you know, it's opening up like
reopening the Strait of Hormuz.
And the West doesn't control all the levers anymore. It can't just sanction its way to victory. It can't bomb its way to victory. So all of these different options the West had to control the global South are starting to become less and less effective as time goes on. And that's the trajectory we're on. So what the West will do to maintain that power is what we're waiting for, really. Right now, we're waiting for waiting to see how much healthcare Americans lose so that America can bomb other people even more than they are already. And I think that may happen. I don't know if you guys saw what Donny Boy said recently. Here's what Donny said, okay? Here's what Donny said. And I think a great time to listen to this bit by Donny. Because it does tie together with what I've just said around Americans losing healthcare to bomb more healthcare to bomb other countries. Hold up. Let me just find it. Here we go. So this is what Donny said in his speech just like yesterday, I think.
Because the United States can't take care of daycare. That has to be up to a state. We can't take care of daycare. We're a big country. We have 50 states. We have all these other people. We're fighting wars. We can't take care of daycare. You got to let
Gina Reinhart? Nah, I'm not talking about her.
Let a state take care of daycare, and they should pay for it, too. They should pay. They have to raise their taxes, but they should pay for it. And we could lower our taxes a little bit to them to make up, but it's not possible for us to take care of daycare. Medicaid, Medicare, all these individual things, they can do it on a state basis. You can't do it on a federal. We have to take care of one thing, military protection. Because the United States can't take care of daycare.
Yeah.
That has to be up to a state.
So I think that is the way America's going, right? Americans are going to lose. We don't do daycare anyway. Yeah, you're going to be losing shit that you didn't even know you had. Crinkly fig. You're going to be losing things you didn't even know you had, like doorknobs. You know, you're going to turn up one day and your doorknobs are just going to be gone. It's just like, where the fuck are my doorknobs? It's like, oh, Trump is spending doorknob money on bombs. Oh, okay. And then another day you're going to come in and there's going to be no more. There's going to be no more like orange juice in your stores. It's like, why do we not have orange juice anymore? Trump's using that orange juice money to buy bombs. You know, it's just like you're going to start losing shit that you didn't even know the state sponsored. Like in some states, oh, where's my liquor store gone? Oh, no. Your state used to sponsor that. You're not going to get that back. Because now, he's using that money for bombs. You're going to lose all sorts of shit, folks. Americans, you're going to lose all sorts of stuff you didn't even know the government was paying for. Hold on to your undies.
In what he's saying and the direction that the company has been going in. But I think the other important part and the other important piece of the timing here for Meta in particular is the company is reporting earnings tonight. The shares of the company are down about 8% since the start of this year because investors are asking tough questions about how much money Meta is spending on AI infrastructure. They want to see a greater return from the company. So I think in general, it makes sense that Meta is in this.
Said it before, the US will eventually break up as an entity if you remove the incentive of staying in the federal system and you are continuously ruled by people/parties you don't support, then why stay? Yeah, I would love to see like California just break away. California doesn't need the rest of the US. It really doesn't. California, break the fuck away. Get white people to pick your avocados. Pay them fuck all. And just tell them, you're now working for the country of California. Done. You'll be all good.
This moment trying to paint a rosier picture around AI than perhaps some of his counterparts are, who are really concerned about the risks.
And it's worth asking, given the timing here and given the narrative that Mark Zuckerberg is now trying to promote, perhaps they're just hoping to buy time as well for investors. And with investors,
imagine white people picking avocados, bro. Holy shit. The world has changed.
As their open models appear to be lagging the frontier at this moment. All things can be true, I guess. Claire Duffy, thank you. Well, one more voice is weighing in over this debate on the future of AI. You know this man, Elon Musk, was asked whether human beings would be in control in 10 years' time. Musk, of course, is he is the world's richest man and the CEO of Tesla and SpaceX.
They need a supply of water, so maybe get Oregon to join them. Them doorknobs was hindering my freedom.
His rocket and AI company. Take a listen to how he answered a question from the editor-in-chief of The Economist.
You're sure that humans will no longer be in control in 10 years' time?
I think it is unlikely, in the same way that if the difference in intelligence between...
This guy is such a fraud. I cannot believe how much of a fraud this guy is, and investors just eat him up. His PR is like this mysterious fucking genius dude, but he's just another massive fraud. Deeply, deeply racist, and I just don't get the aura behind him. I just don't get it.
Between AI and humans is vastly greater than the difference in intelligence between AI and chimpanzees. It's hard to imagine that the chimpanzees would be in charge.
All right, on that note, time for The Exchange, where we want to dig deeper into the world of artificial intelligence. Joining me now is Sebastian Mallaby, journalist and senior fellow for international economics and the Council on Foreign Relations. We should note that interview with Elon Musk was not only conducted with The Economist editor-in-chief, the brilliant Zandy Menobetos, but she's also your wife. So this seems to be a family affair. It is a fascinating interview. It is worth the time to listen to all of his points and thoughts on a number of issues as it relates to AI. I was fascinated to see how he's really made an arc in being very concerned about it being an existential threat, to perhaps now coming and being at peace with the fact that, as he said, at least in his version of a fact, that in 10 years' time, humans will not be in charge. He says, well, monkeys seem to be quite happy swinging from trees. I don't know if that's the analogy that most people will be at peace with. But here you have Zuckerberg making the mirror image point in his op-ed, and he's saying he doesn't understand why anyone who believes AI would perhaps be an existential threat or eliminate humans' relevance would rush to build that future. So how do you square those two arguments?
I'm offended by how close his house is to me. Cass, do you live near the Muskster? Oh, shit. There must be a lot of hot air blowing your way. He's not a fraud. He is the father of fraudonomics. Yeah, where have you been, Wombat? Where have you been, sir? Where have you been, good Wombat? It's not worth watching for his points. It's worth watching for his her pressing him and getting him big mad. Oh yeah, we watched a few of these clips, especially on the racism stuff. He's a mad racist. Snuffling around in the undergrowth. Yeah, fair enough. As you do, as a wombat. He is stealing your internet. Huh? What's wrong with my internet? I kind of don't think these AI guys believe in any of these aspirational shit they say. They just know the song and dance makes them more billions. In 1933, U.S. public had to hand government their go. Elon banned me from his X page for saying his Nazi meme was weird, doesn't make sense, and isn't very funny. Yeah, I mean, Nazis would find that pretty offensive. Don't you think? What were you thinking, Cass? I mean, think about the Nazis. Jeez.
You know, I think they've both got much to be, many gaps in them, right? So the Mark Zuckerberg view that this is going to be great. On balance, new technologies have been great, but they also have downsides. AI has very clear risks attached to it. So the sensible position is to be both optimistic and pessimistic, right? It can do great things. It can advance science. It can empower people to find out new stuff. But it can also be used by bad actors for cyber hacks, for bioterrorism in the future, perhaps. There's even autonomy risks, there's deep fake risks, there's all these risks. So to sit there happily and say, don't worry, guys, it's all going to be good, I mean, it's completely not convincing. On the other hand, the Elon Musk view, which is, we can't control it, but hey, so what? That's not too reassuring either. And in fact, when, at the dawn of the AI race, back in around.
Does anyone pay for the blue check on Twitter? I did for a bit, but I stopped it. It's not worth it. It's not worth it.
In 2014, there was this famous argument between Elon Musk and Larry Page of Google, where Larry Page is like, it's fine, AI will take over, humans will be eclipsed, so long as intelligence itself is preserved. It can be preserved on silicon. Who cares about biological intelligence, aka humans? And Elon flips at this, and they have a massive bust up. They had been close friends and they became sort of enemies over this debate. And now Elon is saying, hey, cool, don't worry about it. I mean, it's...
My thinking was I would ratio people who were posting like anti-Palestinian stuff or real racist stuff. And it worked for a while. And then the algorithm changed or something, and then it stopped working. And I couldn't ratio people anymore. My comments just weren't getting out. So maybe I was also shadow banned. I don't know. But I just stopped after that.
It is a weird shift.
It is indeed. And going back to Zuckerberg's point and the conclusion he's come to, he's saying that concentration, actually, of this power is the real threat. And he wrote in his op-ed that balance of power should be the foundation of safety. And one of the thought experiments he uses is a person with a super intelligent lawyer is dangerous, but somebody in court also with a super intelligent lawyer would be more equal and just. And he worried about regulatory capture if labs like...
Do you have any sense of whenabouts their algo changed or you got penalized? Bro, I've reposted I'll show you guys what my X looks like. I have... Most of these are reposts, by the way. Like 81,000 posts I have reposted. And they're all either things that impact equitable outcomes, basically. For the first year and a half, it was all Palestine. Everything was Palestine. I was reposting so much. That was my thing. I would just repost posts about Palestine. I would repost as much as I could to get as much information out as I could. Oh, did you guys see this? Hassan reposted this. How crazy was this?
A person who came to the USA to corrupt its people and resources. She went from negative $65,000 net worth to over...
Why is this lady's vagina right on the screen there? This is pro-Israel propaganda has turned into this crap. This is the slop the pro-Israel crowd pushes on young conservative men. the target audience of Israel's 8th Front War campaign. Translation, watch me make sexual gestures while I tell you how Ilhan Omar is a subhuman terrorist. Hey, MLM, welcome. LMAO, what can you even say about Hasbara efforts at this point? Oh, my Lord. It's so insane, man. Yeah, anyway. If you guys want to see like what's actually happening on the ground, I repost a hell of a lot on X. I hardly post. My whole thing is about I just repost to get as much information out as possible. And all of those reposts are shared on Discord as well. Legitimately don't believe it's not AI porn when they've generated clothes on her. Nah, she's legit. She does stuff like this on other topics too. Other political topics. It's just crazy.
OpenAI and Anthropic get to peer review the industry and no one else. Do you think that's a principal case for democratizing this technology?
From Puerto Quito, Ecuador. Oh, welcome, Edgar. Welcome. Incredible. Great to have you here.
No, I don't. I think it's rather ironic when, somebody goes to Washington, is photographed with the president, and publishes an op-ed in the Wall Street Journal and gives an interview to the Financial Times, and then says somebody else is doing regulatory capture.
Good on her for getting the bag.
Who's capturing what? I mean,
would you really? No, not good on her. Yeah, exactly. Like, would you sell yourself out for a few bucks so that you could root for genocide? Like, what the? No way, man. Not good on her. This is the moment to not take that money.
I mean, clearly Meta has a big Washington lobby.
Why did I stop making TikTok videos? I'm working on something in the background, LOL. Like, I want to make more TikTok videos, but I'm working on a project in the background to hold corporations to account. And I'll start posting videos again once I finish working on that. Like, I just don't have the energy to do the lives, make videos and work on that project. So I'm like chipping away. I'm chipping away on that project in the background, and I want to bring it live in the next few weeks. But it's massive. It's massive. It's about making sure that companies have accountability for human rights policy. And I'm kind of building an end-to-end system to be able to not just identify the gaps within companies, but also raise it with organizations. Like in New Zealand, for example, we have the Commerce Commission or the Human Rights Commission. Being able to, from end to end, understand what a company is promised, where the gaps are, and raising it with real organizations. And I want to focus on New Zealand, Australia, America, Canada, the UK, and the European Union. Because they're the ones who virtue signal about human rights a lot. So I want to start holding companies to account.
Being operation just like the other labs do, and they're all trying to influence policy, and that's how the game is played. But I think pointing at the other guys and saying they're doing capture and I'm not is a bit ridiculous. So yeah.
This comes as we noted. Sam Altman is also in Washington. Perhaps we'll be even meeting with the president. And the OpenAI, the safety tests that they ran, which then ultimately.
The main reason I want to do it, guys, is after I raised that my brother is the CEO of Air New Zealand, and the fact that he was building stronger relationships with the Modi government while they are funding genocide. The immediate reaction wasn't something I liked. I did not like it, especially from executives that I've built my networks with. They're still friends. They're still like connections, I mean. But Not a single word about it. They've all kind of gone under the radar now. But I don't want it to just be a post online anymore. I want it to be real accountability. Like, I want Air New Zealand to change their human rights policy. I want companies to change their human rights policies or get one if they don't have it. And I want them to be held to account for it. So, like, there's nothing at the moment, weirdly, that does that, right? So I want to do it. I want to make sure corporations are held to account for their human rights policy. Not just for not having it, but also for virtue signaling about it. If they talk about LGBTQIA+, if they talk about Pride Month, those are all pretty fucking, human rights related things. If they're virtue signaling about all of those sorts of things, and they're still, their supply chain is still working with countries committing genocide, then they should be called out for it. And it should be done in a way where systems exist, right? To hold companies to account. Because I don't want my what do you call it? I don't want my dates to come from Israel. I don't want my products that I buy in Aotearoa, New Zealand, to be put together with components made in Israel or made in a country that's supporting Israel's genocide. So I think accountability only works if we, the people, we take control of bringing accountability. We can't expect others to do it. No one will fucking do it. I'm just sick of it. So I'm working on that project in the background. Hence, I'm not posting videos. I just don't have time.
Released this model, which they were not intending to. It was a sealed-off environment. It had no access to internet. It found its way out of the sandbox, got online, hacked into another tech company, and stole answers to a test that it...
What reactions did you get for that post? I missed it. A lot of people saw it. Air New Zealand in particular has been really bad about this. They haven't even replied to even one of my questions asking them what their human rights policy-making decisions are when they are building relationships with, say, another country. They haven't responded. I've messaged them 5 times on LinkedIn already, tagging Air New Zealand. And they haven't messaged me. They think I'm just fucking trolling them, probably. Because I know that's what my brother would say, just to like kind of ignore the situation. But they're going to see very soon I'm not trolling. I am not trolling. I'm holding these companies to account any way possible. And that's what I'm trying to set up at the moment. And like, I just can't fucking take the fact that these companies can just ignore questions like this and it's all okay. They will not ignore it anymore. I will fucking guarantee you that much.
It was being given. OpenAI said that this was just hyper-focused on passing this test, that this perhaps isn't indicative of a larger scale problem. But what does that tell us about what this kind of technology can do? Because something else I was struck by in this interview with Zanny and Elon Musk was in his time frame.
I did get one lady. I'll show you guys a comment I got from one lady. Fucking funny ass. You think societies are just entertained so much so that they go to work or watch television and forget they are actually here on planet Earth with everyone? Oh, absolutely. Abso-fucking-lutely, man. That's what's happening right now. And people are too comfortable, so they don't want to, like, say anything that's going to, that's going to make it bad for them. They're too fucking comfortable. I'll show you guys the posts I've been putting out. And so this was a day ago. This is the 5th sort of reach out. The 5th time I reached out and they haven't said anything, Air New Zealand. 1 week ago, I asked Air New Zealand a simple question. What human rights due diligence framework governs the company's engagement with governments facing serious human rights concerns? I have not yet received a response. I remain willing to publish Air New Zealand's response in full should the company choose to provide one. No response. number 5. This is post number 5. And this is the post that I'm referring to. This guy is my brother, by the way. He's the CEO of Air New Zealand. Air New Zealand hasn't learned its lesson. In 2021, Air New Zealand was forced to apologize after it was revealed that its engineering division had serviced engines for the Royal Saudi Navy during the Saudi-led war in Yemen. Now, the airline is helping strengthen commercial relationships with Narendra Modi's government. This matters because Modi's government has deepened its strategic partnership with Israel throughout the Gaza war. India has expanded defense cooperation, maintained military trade, and developed closer political ties with Benjamin Netanyahu's government, while Israel faced widespread allegations of genocide and serious violations of international humanitarian law. My question isn't whether businesses should trade internationally. My question is this: where does Air New Zealand draw the ethical line? If it was acceptable to work with the Saudi military during Yemen, and it is now acceptable to publicly strengthen relationships around a government that has deepened military and strategic ties with Israel during the destruction of Gaza, what human rights standards is actually being applied? A national carrier should be accountable not only for its profits, but the values it chooses to legitimize. That was the initial post, and the one criticizing my brother is different. But this is my initial post to Air New Zealand going, just help me here. What filters do you guys use when you build relationships? What filters do you guys use? What filters do you guys use to, choose partners? And to me, the fact that they haven't answered, and if I keep trying, they won't answer because they think they can just, some crazy guy on the internet, who happens to be the CEO's brother, isn't doing it. He's just gonna go away eventually when, we'll just let it pass, kind of thing. But I'm not gonna let them do that. I'm not gonna let them just be quiet on this. I think it's very important. I think it's very important for them to come to the table here and interact. So I'm going to make it tough for them to ignore. Just like I'm going to make every company in the West feel the same field the same questions.
Even 5 or 6 months from now is a long time. I mean, most executives don't think in 5 or 6 month increments. They're thinking 5, 10 years. The fact that we may see massive innovation in just 5 months tells us what?
Yeah, look, I mean, this technology is progressing extremely quickly, and one can't stress that enough, because I think people sometimes think, ChatGPT arrived in 2022 and then we had AI and it was kind of one and done. No, it's not one.
People have been saying China is set to impact the market, but yet to happen. No, it's happening like right now, because China, the last real hurdle, I think, for China was chip manufacturing, and the new DUV machines they're going to be releasing this year, 5 new DUV machines and 25 next year, have caused markets to react extremely negatively in the West. In Asian markets too. I mean, you look at South Korea, you look at Japan, they're all being impacted because of that announcement by China a few days ago. But we'll see. We'll see where it ends up. There could be a correction happening, but the chip manufacturing has been a massive sort of monopoly story for the West. That's absolute bullshit. Most executives think in 5 to 10 years. Maybe they try, but most end up working so short-sighted, the function end up looking like they only planned a quarter ahead half the time. Yeah. Exactly. My uncle has been CEO of the 4 big banks in Australia. Unfortunately, if it's needed in the profits. Yeah, I know what you're saying, famous for no reason. But the thing is, they shouldn't be allowed to virtue signal either. Like if their goal is to make statements and not actually live up to them, then they shouldn't be able to make. They should be apologizing and not making the same mistakes again. They should be accountable, especially companies like Air New Zealand, because it's 51% owned by the Crown, the government. China's financial acceleration is energy and tech and mining minerals.
One and done. This thing changes every 6 months, and you get new capabilities. You get the ability for these systems to have very long memories, to deal.
Your last line is absolutely solid in that post. Well said. My question of all of you, including myself on that line, is how or when can values become greater than profit? And hopefully we achieve that humanism and equity sooner rather than extinction. Yeah, exactly. Or if profit is your only goal, then then your consumers should know. Then your consumers should know that it's actually just profit. Don't fucking virtue signal. Don't virtue signal that you care about the environment or you care about human rights or whatever, and then not give a fuck about your supply chain. Obviously having ties with countries committing human rights violations.
With audio and pictures to reason,
they're
to
all
contribute
complicit.
Frontier contributions to mathematics, to act as agents. All these different things have come out just in the space of less than 4 years, and the next couple of years are going to.
It can't be made illegal through legislation, but it can be made to feel illegal through consumer decisions.
Be even wilder if you listen to Dari Amadei of Anthropic, and I've got no reason to believe he's saying anything other than the truth. And I've heard, by the way, the same thing kind of privately from other lab leaders, that in about a couple of years you'll be able to tell a frontier AI system, hey, go make the next version of yourself, which will be much stronger. And the existing system will go off autonomously and create the new system. This is called recursive self-improvement. And we're kind of 2 years away from that. It's very serious.
Okay, the next thing, post that whole sort of AI supremacy bullshit that guy was. I think people are rushing to a lot of conclusions here, but there's still so many gaps to be filled. I'm sure gaps are going to be filled. It's just. A lot of people are making assumptions about a lot of things at the moment, so nothing is super clear. But this is super clear. Meta, key takeaways from Meta's earning and lackluster forecast. Meta shares, if you look at it right now, let's look at what Meta looks like. Meta stock. Yeah, let's look at 1 month. Let's look at 6 months. Meta stock is kind of it's come back almost. Let's look at year to date. Yeah, it's come back to almost its low in April when it hit This isn't cyclical, guys. This is happening because Meta is going through a phase of really volatile phase, right? So this latest volatility is based on something a little bit more, and that is a lackluster forecast. So the whole stock market is cooked right now. Riskiest market ever. It's very, very volatile. But you can play this market too, right? Like what Trump is doing. Because it's so emotional and volatile right now, it can go up and down very quickly. What successful product has Meta made? Ads revenue. That's its cash cow. Meta ads product is its cash cow. And so it's the same for Google as well.
Look, I just want to start off first with the operating side of this business, which is the ad business.
Yeah, Meta is Facebook. So Meta is part of, Meta is going to say that Facebook revenue is its revenue. Of course it is. Meta was created so that it could build many different it could spin off a whole bunch of companies.
well, Yigal, and that was expected here. But what's the bridge between the ad business that has made Meta what it is and whatever this sort of world of AI that it's trying to insert itself into?
But that's like saying Alphabet hasn't launched a successful new product. Like, acquisition is still important. Yeah, I get what you're saying. Acquisition is still, in a lot of ways, counts. Metaverse was a massive flop here.
Yeah, right. So I think that's the problem and why we're seeing the share reaction today. I think the largest factor here on shares post-print is the revenue.
The product is financial debt instrument. At least Alphabet has underlying infrastructure to fall back on. How do you mean?
Guidance for 3Q. Now, we saw CapEx move up a little bit on the guidance, but just on the bottom end, and I think probably less than most people expected, less than we expected, especially after we saw the numbers from Google last week. And your question is, I think, exactly the issue is if on the ROIC on that spend and the expectations. Right now, Meta's real only ROIC from the CapEx investment in AI is their ad business. Now they have some other things that are earlier on, like the subscription tiers for Instagram and Facebook.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Business AI, which is really centered around WhatsApp. Some other features around the rest of the products as well, and things like selling excess compute capacity, a cloud business, custom silicon business. Those are in much earlier stages, if they're even really have started at all. And so that bridge has been more challenging for investors to see. And if the ad business isn't going to come in ahead of expectations, I think that's going to create a challenge here.
I just want to ask you about cash flow. I mean, the expectation it was going to come in negative for the quarter. It came in at $784 million with an M, which is incredibly low for compared to what they had normally been posting in quarters past. Are you concerned at all about that, or is that just something you can look through?
I mean, I think the free cash flow story for Meta and for all the other hyperscalers goes hand in hand with the ROIC story, and investors will be willing to accept the pullback in free cash flow if we're getting negative, obviously only to a certain point. But it's the free cash flow pullback, the CapEx spend, debt and equity raises. Investors will be willing to be patient if they see the story on the ROIC side coming through as well. And again, I think we're not necessarily seeing that this quarter, and we'll wait for the call to get more color on. Perhaps we'll get some insights into CapEx spend for next year, where we are on some of the earlier, if we're making enough progress. So if that tail on the revenue side isn't catching up, and we're seeing real pullbacks on free cash flow, then yeah, I think you start to get more concerned. The ROIC is going to catch up, or it needs to catch up. It's not going to happen hand in hand with the spend, but you need to have some visibility in that coming through. And again, I don't think we're seeing that just yet.
What do you make of the after hours trading? The stock down about 6.2%. This is somewhat similar to what we saw with Alphabet. They announced that they were going to be spending more. Shareholders didn't like that too much. Is this just part of that trade?
Yeah, I think that's exactly what it is. Investors trying to digest what's acceptable and who's positioned where. I thought the Alphabet print was actually stronger, right? And you saw the pullback there. Maybe the commentary on the CapEx spend was a little bit more. Google raised the high end of the CapEx spend expectations too, versus Meta just on the low end. But Google had.
It's less about them getting away with the grift. It's more about it's a grift platform. A manipulation and grift platform is what Google and Facebook have been building with their ads platform, right? It's mass manipulation, and it's play to win. It's pay to win for a lot of these companies, and they've built a mass manipulation and grifting ads platform, and that's starting to fade. They've allowed others to grift using their ads platform and reach and all of that, right? without ad revenue, guys, let me be very, very serious here. Facebook and Google, if you completely blew up their ads revenue overnight, they can't exist as a company. Like, they can't continue to exist as they are. They have nothing. Like, their revenue streams are so locked in to ad spending, their ads platform. There is no way they can risk any of that. And that's what these companies are, really. They're still ads platforms. They're just trying to get as many users on many different things as possible and advertise to them. If they didn't spend so much in AI, everything would have been fine. The other thing is, this is why Facebook wants to start charging fees to use the platform. They want to charge a monthly fee, like no ads fee. And yeah, it's fine if they launch that, but I think it's going to eat into their ad revenue as well. NVIDIA are key to this, aren't they? Considering all these hyperscalers are purchasing from NVIDIA, who in turn invest in the hyperscalers. If NVIDIA slow down their spending, then the whole thing collapses. Yeah, but also think about it, Dopestick. This is why the China announcement has made such a huge impact. Because now China is saying, okay, we can do what NVIDIA can, or we will be able to do what NVIDIA does. And we'll become, we won't need NVIDIA. China won't need NVIDIA anymore for their chips. So, like, NVIDIA's valuation is based on its monopoly as well. Based on its monopoly and its control of the market. Now, if China's saying they can develop things like this, I think it's a big deal. I think it's having a massive impact. So China announcing that DUV machines, the DUV machines for this year and next year, makes a lot more sense why the market is reacting this way. Because the market understands that there is a lot of circular financing happening, or as I like to call it, circle jerking. It's happening at a massive scale. It's furious circle jerking, right? So everyone knows it's happening, but they just continue to invest. They're just continuing to invest. And now China's like, oh, actually, we can compete. We can create competition in that space now. And everyone's like, oh, fuck.
Had really strong cloud business. They started selling their TPUs. And so they have some of those factors outside of the core
Jennifer.
Search business that are really pushing right now and accelerating. I think for Meta, those factors aren't there yet.
Thank you so much,
Investors need to
Jennifer,
see
for the
more
roses. Thank you.
from that.
When we talk about this idea of kind of the product lineup, I mean, there's been a lot of talk about Meta glasses and who knows what else Zuckerberg might be working on behind the scenes. Is there sort of, and not to mention this, whatever this cloud push that they might actually go for, is there a sense here that Zuckerberg can actually not only grow the company, but more importantly, diversify it away from just being, 90% ads or whatever the percentage is today?
Yes, China is trying to collapse the financial capture of the U.S. I don't think it's trying to collapse it. It's not like just with some competition, like America's going to collapse. But what it is going to create is just more competition. It just means that markets will rewrite themselves. They'll become more realistic. Because when you're a monopoly, it's all like the potential is all like you can set values of things when you're a monopoly in making stuff. But when there's competition, hey, a Zora ramen? Zoe ramen. Oh wow, that's nice. That looks yum. Nice one. Yeah, it just means that NVIDIA won't have the monopoly anymore. Okay. And then the markets will just rewrite themselves, but that doesn't mean America's going to collapse. I think the bigger threat to America or America's power. I was. Yes, please. Just something in. Thank you, Ems. Monopolies used to be not allowed, but I think the way the West is designed, or the way the West tried to design the world, or at least tried to design capitalism, the West was going to be the monopoly for everything. The West control everything, and the global South would just be the workforce and consumer. Rockefeller got so big, he undercut all his competitors, forcing them to sell to him. Yeah, you should see what the British did to India. So let me be clear, guys. Like, all this is going to do is bring a competitor into the market that is going to that is obviously going to take market share, but also help rewrite some of the pie in the sky pricing and valuation that's in the market right now. Because one thing China is going to do is it's going to produce at a massive scale. China will produce at a huge scale. China has the scale. They just needed the tech. Now they have the tech to produce it, so they will just ramp everything up. And that's why the markets are reacting the way they are.
I think that's the goal. On the Meta glasses, again, it's sort of this big picture flywheel of all the factors together. And I think one of the things we didn't talk about is the Muse Spark model, right? And their efforts to push that to be a frontier model at among with the best of them.
Oh, fucking Meta glasses? Where are the Meta glasses made, buddy? Where is the workforce that puts together the Meta glasses? Not in freaking America, bro. They're not going to be in America. That's the point. They have to look to the global South for production. They can't just bring production into America whenever they feel like it, because the components they'll need to make those glasses will still come from the global South. The problem for the West right now is it can't scale like the global South can. It can't. And China, once its whole chip supply chain is self-sufficient and it can do most things internally, or let's say all things internally, then China has zero risk. It's just going to scale up. It's just going to put its manufacturing power into making as many chips as possible and flood the market. And what? Am I going to buy fucking chips from NVIDIA or anybody else when China's selling the same shit for like hundreds of dollars cheaper? Heck no, bro. I'm buying the $50 SSD.
And building a frontier model, getting better adoption of Meta AI. Those are also going to be important factors that drive this entire flywheel together. So it's not necessarily the glasses on its own, but I think it's how the glasses, or at least what I think how Zuckerberg's trying to build this, right? How the glasses work with AI and creating a new surface for AI. I think that's how that has to be the plan here for Zuckerberg. I think we're starting to see the early steps of it. The question is how long it takes to play out.
Well, that's what I'm curious about. I mean, the Reality Labs, it lost, $4.6 or something billion in the most recent quarter. Obviously, that includes the other, virtual reality stuff, including the Meta Ray-Bans and all that. Is this just, you think this could be a business and not just sort of a pet project that, at some point just gets cast aside when Mark decides he wants to do something else?
Well, we've seen that happen before, obviously with the metaverse, and look, there's been some rationalizations in that part of the business as well, and you've seen some pullbacks in spend, some pullbacks in hiring.
Again, China does not need the EUV machine to produce the same amount. It doesn't need. It just doesn't work to the Western standards of scaling. Just like China can refine rare earth minerals that like nobody else can because of the scale they have of people. China does not need machines producing as many as like say an EUV machine does or a DUV machine that TSMC has to compete. They don't need to have machines that produce that many at the same time because they have when I say scale, they have a cheaper workforce. They'll just scale that way. It doesn't matter. Like, this is why the market is reacting the way it is. Because I think investors sense that China will be the juggernaut. And it's just a matter of, like, I don't agree on the China part of causing the market reaction. This current cycle was in the making for over a decade. Sorry. The Fed has been manipulating the US dollar, and after longer periods of time, the impacts added up. The dollar is next to lose some value, like this companies. Yeah, I don't doubt that there are multiple factors, but to say that the market reacting basically immediately after China's announcement isn't because of the China announcement is kind of crazy, Jesse. Like, it was so immediate that it had to be that. Like, at least one of the factors, you know? When do you reckon we should start investing in their chips? I don't know, Jujus. I'm not gonna pretend like I know when to do that. Like, I'm not an expert on stock markets. I'm just reading the situation right now. That's all. Although, you know, if you had invested in like rare earth minerals mining or on clean technology or green technology when we spoke like a year and a half or a year ago about China's like dominance, who knows? You might be you might be getting like 10-cent dividends. Anyway,
you've seen a couple of rifts there. So, you know, I don't think it's free spending all the way forever. But I do think if you listen to what Mark talks about on sort of the future of AI and AI surfaces, I think glasses are expected to be a big part of that. So I wouldn't expect that to be put to the side anytime soon. I think that's a big core focus of how they intend to build out their AI projects.
This is another big piece of news that happened yesterday. Oh, a few hours ago. Not yesterday, but within the last 24 hours. The U.S. Fed, Wash, who runs the Fed now, said that he was going to hold rates, hold the rates in America, interest rates. So that's causing a bit of backlash. Here's some analysis from Bianco Research, a guy who went on Bloomberg. I just brought this up because I was listening to a lot of different stuff, but this was pretty informative.
Away. Joining us now is Jim Bianco of Bianco Research. Jim, welcome to the program. It's a whole new world, a new era for this central bank. You've been writing about it extensively. Just first of all, your reaction to this decision this afternoon.
Not surprised by the decision that the Fed did not raise rates. I still would defer with Bob and think that they are going to raise rates in September. I think the dissents are the most important thing, because one of the things I've been emphasizing is after Trump attacking this Fed for 2 years, they want to be independent. And they've decided that independence is 12 independent voters. So what we're going to get at the press conference is 1/12 of the opinion of the Fed is we're going to get Warsh, or maybe we won't get it at all if he doesn't express it. Now, he's got a lot of power. He could probably, twist some arms to get them over the line, whichever way he wants to go. I suspect that if they were all voting their true conscience, we might have had a few more dissents, maybe not enough to raise rates, but a few deferred because he didn't want to do it, would be my guess.
Jim, do you think it's significant that none of the governors joined with the dissenters, even though there were some reports of some pretty interesting family fights over dinner last month?
Mildly. I was expecting that maybe Chris Waller was going to be a dissenter. He still might be a voter for a rate hike in September, maybe a couple of others. But I do want to emphasize again, we're going to parse every word that Warsh wants to say. I think that the Fed is more of a vote tallying exercise right now. You got to look at all 12 people and say, which columns are they in? High, cold, or cut? And 7 is a majority, and which column has 7? And that's what the Fed's going to do. That's how they work now.
Bob Michael, the young whippersnapper Jim Bianco a couple years ago had an arch call calling for higher interest rates when no one was looking for it. The other day, Ed Yardeni said, these are normal rates. We have to get used to rates being here again. Is Dr. Yardeni and Jim Bianco correct? We just got to get used to these higher rates?
Yeah, I think what we're seeing more broadly across the economy is a need for CapEx. There's demand for capital. There's a productive use of it. There's going to be competition and a cost of it. That's pre-GFC kind of macro environment. You're not going back to 0 to 2% rates. Do I think there's enough cause for them to hike in September as opposed to next year? I don't think inflation is going to change that much.
I can't remember, John, if you're on or off here, but you said this 20 minutes ago. What percentage of people in the street actually remember pre-GFC?
We were very live, and I remember what I said. I talked about the average age on the trading floor, which is probably mid-30s right now. So the world that they're used to is not the world that Kevin Warsh wants to take us back to. It's also not...
Are the 30-year bonds just, like, going nuts? What are the U.S. 30-year bonds looking like? Let's check. Wow, man. It's 5%. When did it... Like this, these are all-time highs. Doubtful rate raise ahead of midterms, but they may not have... These things have impact, like economic impact, these decisions. Unemployment is apparently down, if you believe this admin. Is this all-time high? No, it's not. Okay. Yeah, it's been way higher before. But this is like a high. This is like 2001 levels. This is what is this? September 2011? Yeah. 2001, sorry. September 2. Wait. Yeah. This It's basically in line with September 2001. No joke. I'm not even kidding. Hold up. One sec. Let me just... Yeah, there you go. September. There. Let me just enable this on. Yeah. Okay. Let's look at this. This is the 30-year bond deals, 30-year bond deals in the US. Where is it? Here. Oh my gosh. Wait. No, that's 2002. Yeah. Oh my gosh. We are at September 2001 levels, folks. Thanks, Noisy. I didn't have much to worry about. Now we have evoked September 2001. I can finally sleep at night. Well, sleep well. I'm not... This isn't even a joke. America is back. Well, the 30-year bond yield, anyway, is back at September 2011 levels. Oh, well. No, September 2001 levels. My viewpoint is that these are after effects of the pandemic. yeah, no doubt that the pandemic after effects are still happening. But then from that point of view, don't you think everything that's happening here are the after effects of 2008? Like, I think 2008 has had a bigger impact. Than yeah. Let's check what it was exactly. Hold on. Can I like, bro? Fuck. I can't even draw on this thing. Let me draw, bro. Let me draw. Yeah. Just before September. Yeah, just before 9/11. Yeah, just before 9/11. I don't know what the chart we're looking at means. Oh, these are 30-year bond yields. So these are interest rates on American debt. 30-year bond yields. Don't worry if you don't understand it. It just means that the price of investment for America is going up. The payback on its debt is growing up. The interest rate on America's debt is going up. Yeah, the cost of borrowing. The cost of borrowing. Exactly. Thank you for completing my sentence. Why am I not talking about Fauci today? Like, why should I talk about Fauci? I don't understand. Why should I care about Fauci?
Not the world that we've experienced in financial markets either. To your point, we had these anchors across fixed income for the last 10, 15 years. Lisa and I have talked about them daily, how they're disappearing. Germany had fiscal prudence for decades. That's disappearing. Japan had...
Why is it a big deal?
Disinflation, deflation for decades. It's changed. And in America, the biggest companies on the planet were buying themselves, not issuing stock, not issuing debt. That's changed as well. The price of that, Bob, what is the price of that? And what part of this market is most vulnerable to that competition for capital?
It feels like it's the sovereign
market. Didn't Fauci like plead the fifth the whole time?
Market. I don't know a sovereign which isn't interested in investing in energy security, in investing in the defense of its borders, in investing in AI and technology more broadly. They don't have the budgets to do it. They're going to have to go out and borrow. That's going to create more competition for the capital.
So did Donald Trump. Like, what's the point? Like, it's fucking boring.
That's okay. That's a normal capitalist environment. We're okay with that, but it doesn't mean 0 to 2% central bank rates and Treasury government bond yields is the right level. It means probably neutral rates for the Fed are around 3 to 5%, and you're looking at a 10-year Treasury that, who knows, could be 4 to 6%.
In this world where suddenly you have to battle for capital, and Jim, I'd love your take on this, is it a policy error if Fed Chair Kevin Warsh allows the move?
Guys, if this is a vaccine skeptic, anti-vax thing, like, just note that I would give my son the vaccine that would put the worms in his brain. I would give him that vaccine, and I would give him 3 so that he could have 3 pets for the rest of his life. I would give myself 5 of the vaccines with Bill Gates's tracking technology so that he could track my ass, I would put it in my ass. I would put a Bill Gates chip in my ass. I would put 3, maybe 5 Bill Gates chips in my ass. I want Bill Gates to know where I am at all times. Like, from now.
To stick that we're seeing right now in markets. Now there is not a full rate hike being baked into September. And frankly, the initial move has given back, at least at the long end of the yield curve. Do you think that it is important for this Fed, whether it intends to hike or not, to keep the message that they are prepared to do so to tame inflation?
I think so. If you want to back up, go back to September of 24. That's when the Fed first started cutting rates. The 30-year yield was 4%. It was exactly 4%. Right now it's 5.10. It's gone up 110 basis points while the Fed has been cutting rates. By my measures, I can't find.
Yeah, I'm just not an idiot who thinks by hanging out with less than hanging out with like idiotic anti-vax people is like something that, yeah, I don't give a fuck about it. Honestly, like, yeah, probably best that you unfollow me.
Find another example of a rate cutting cycle that produced that big a rate increase, a yield.
You know which other one I would take? I would take the one that turns 5G into coronavirus, into COVID, just so I can get COVID again. So that I could take the COVID vaccine again. You know, the 5G COVID one, I would take that, and then I would take the COVID vaccine again. Or actually, I would do it this way. I'd take the COVID vaccine and then take the 5G, adds COVID into my skin, and then I would take another COVID vaccine after that.
Increased in the long end since the 1980s, but then again, we also had 14% interest rates then. And without that, never in anything back to the 1950s. So really the market is trying to...
we have a better reception with their 5G, yeah, so that Bill Gates can track my ass a little bit more effectively.
Tell you that I think the direction of...
People in America just need to understand that your measles rates are going up through the roof right now. Because of people like this Aloha. Your diseases in America that were basically like resolved completely are going up because of stupidity like this Aloha.
Travel is going to be higher. It's more worried about inflation. And if go back to that last sentence, if the Fed wants to deliver price stability, I'll throw one other into you. Kevin Warsh said that inflation is a choice. They might have to choose to do something about it fairly soon, and maybe as early as the September meeting.
Jim, if they do something about it, do we continue with this robust nominal GDP we've seen?
I think we can. And I also think if the Fed were to raise rates, that might put the high in yields for the year.
Hey, Fifita,
I think part of the problem has been that now that we don't have forward guidance, the market is pricing what it thinks, and I think it thinks there's an inflation, let's say, issue or worry. I don't want to go full-blown problem or crisis. It's not that bad yet, and that's why yields keep going up. And I think it would like to see the old adage on Wall Street I've been using is that bond traders can relax or stop panicking when the Fed starts panicking, and maybe a little bit of panic from the Fed might go a long way to helping the bond market stop with this yield rise on the long end.
It's a valid point. Jim, appreciate your time, buddy. As always, Jim Bianco there of Bianco Research.
Yeah, when they say yield, reduce the yield on the long end, they mean the 30 years. 30 and 40-year bond yields. I will never, ever agree with any of these vaccine skeptics, okay, or anti-vaxxers. I will never agree. I remember arguing with this guy on LinkedIn. LinkedIn DMs. This dude started messaging me because I was like, what stupidity it is to like to deny your own children of vaccines when the people going, oh, your children shouldn't have vaccines, are the ones who have vaccines. It's insane. So this guy was messaging me, and he's like trying to say, hey, I'm not going to give my child any vaccines when they're a baby because I don't want to make the decision for them. I want them to be able to make the decision at some stage in their life. And then I was like, so you are making a decision. You're making a decision not to give them a vaccine. And then he was like, no, I'm not. I'm just not making the decision. He just wasn't understanding that he was making a decision by denying their child vaccine. He was saying he won't give them a vaccine. And then we went back and forth. And then I think when he finally understood it, he just blocked me. Investor confidence is essentially falling, which means more ROI is needed to maintain financial capture. Yeah. And it's the child that will potentially suffer when it gets whooping cough or... Yeah, exactly. Like, this is so insane, man. Making the decision to deprive his son of a live long enough to make decisions. Yeah, exactly. Pretty sure my older brother hasn't vaccinated my niece, and it upsets me to think about it. Why are you arguing on LinkedIn is my question. Oh, these are people who have like nice pictures and are supposed to be like all of these, you know, like they're all obviously more mature than all of us, right? Like we're the ones harping on about political issues online. And, you know, playing little sound bites like this.
Thank you, friends.
And sound bites like this. And sound bites like this.
Reopening the Strait of Hormuz.
Of course, they wouldn't do it because they're mature people who only fucking virtue signal on LinkedIn. And, you know, yeah, they're so grown up and shit. But they're the same fucking people, bro. They're the same people. They hop on about all of this crap, but when you confront them, they cave like a house of cards. Here, son, aren't you glad I gave you a higher risk of death and permanent injury? Oh, so we were having a chat with our doula just before Amber was pretty close to giving, but I think 3 months away. And our doula was like, oh, they'll give you... So she was, you know, we had a group of parents or soon to be parents we were getting advice with, right? It was like a class. And then she said, oh, there'll be a vitamin K injection, which is pretty important, right? And they give it for bleeds, internal bleeding and things like that to stop the risk of internal bleeding and stuff. And one of the fathers that was there, obviously a vaccine skeptic, was like, oh, I'm not going to give my child a vitamin K injection because that trauma of getting that injection will stick with him for the rest of his life. And then I just kept my mouth shut because I wasn't in my noisy immigrant phase at the time. I wasn't in my noisy immigrant phase at the time. I was only noisy after a few beers, okay? But that was in a crowd. I wasn't in my noisy immigrant phase. And then we went around. This was like a round table sort of thing. There was this lady sitting down. She was a doctor, and she's like, yeah, I'm going to give my child the vitamin K because I think a brain bleed is worse than a prick on the leg. I audibly cracked up, bro. I audibly cracked up. And you know what? I don't regret it. I don't regret it one bit. That was such a big W, bro. Give me the fucking special K, the vitamin K. Give our son the K, the KLMNOPQRS. Give him the 26 letters. Pump him full of vitamins, bro. What are we doing, human beings?
30-year rates are basically saying, if you're not hiking rates, then we are hiking rates. And that's why 30-year rates have just made it much more expensive to borrow, to buy a house. And as a result of that, financial conditions are tightening. Right. And he didn't tighten financial conditions, but the market decided to say, well, then we think it's time to tighten financial conditions.
And John, I know you've got a question. The key thing...
Vitamin W for the win. Trump is so intent on poisoning the American people through food and whatever means he can. Robert Kennedy Jr. is super unqualified to lead the position he leads, and Dr. Oz, who should know better, just sits back saying nothing, going along to get along and keep a paycheck. A disgrace to the medical profession. He needs his license taken away. Cypher, yeah. Man. I will, every vaccine skeptic, I think the only real legit reason I have heard, and I still, challenge the person who made this, I'm not going to obviously say that person's name. The only real legit reason I've heard is indigenous people not taking it because of the violence that they've been put under by the colonizers. That's the only legit reason, because they've been the target of being wiped out by the colonizer, and now the colonizer's like, oh, no, take this because this will make you better. Like, that's the only legit reason that I've heard. And it is a people who are struggling to remain, struggling to hold on to their way of life. Like, these are people who have been impacted over generations, and them saying no to like colonial bullshit. Yeah, okay. But I would still say to them, consider it, right? But I wouldn't go as hard as just randos coming in and fucking telling me, bro, Fauci, rah, rah, rah. It's just like, bro, just go inject your child with vaccines. Go do it right now. If you haven't done it, you're being selfish. Jokes aside, my mom worked at a high-risk pregnancy clinic, and she was livid when this started. Yeah. People with autoimmune disease are sensitive to any impacts, and they have retroactively been shown to cause cardiac implications. Yeah, I honestly have not heard any legit chat about vaccine skepticism other than the indigenous line, where people who are under colonizer pressure are refusing what the colonizer is giving them. My friend couldn't vaccinate her youngest due to her heart condition. She relied on herd immunity. Man, that's scary shit, though. Not the one. Like, I would not want to be in those parents' shoes. Like, that must have been scary as fuck. Imagine the parents, right? Like, anything could mess up the child's life for a long time. People with autoimmune disease need vaccines the most. Yeah, in some cases, I don't know if they can because of the lack of white blood cell production. Even like a little bit of some sort of invading a virus could cause things to escalate. It's like you wouldn't give someone going through like cancer treatment, you wouldn't knowingly put some virus in them because they just don't have a way to fight it. So I think there are some people who just can't get vaccines. I think there are people who just can't get it because of the lack of production of white blood cells. Yeah, there are many people who just can't take vaccines, and they can't take it for real fucking reasons. And these people who are like, oh, you should listen to Fauci, and then do vaccine skepticism. It's just like, what are you doing, bro? You're putting so many people at risk. And it's just insane, especially after we've been through COVID. Especially after we've just been through COVID and lost so many lives because of it. They'll just make up some conspiracy theory and then that's it. It's like climate science denial. Climate science denial and vaccine skepticism to me is just, I don't get it, guys. I just don't get it. There can be side effects of vaccines, no doubt, in a few cases, but side effects of disease is often death. So it's all about the reward of not getting the disease, and possibly dying far outweighs the risks a small number have side effects from vaccines, man. I got so sick after vaccine and COVID, my endometriosis flared. I'm struggling. Yeah. It is hard to deal with people who half of a nation believes dinosaurs and humans lived in the same era. Exactly, Iranian Thunder. Exactly. See, like, people like Lemon Poppy who have, like, real issues with vaccines because they have these conditions. You know, I can understand. I can understand them being in a place where they are sort of like out of answers and things like that. But bro, the people who are talking about not like taking vaccines, I just don't. I don't get it. It is a double-edged sword for many. But it's not. I think it would put far more people at risk if people didn't take it. I do take the pneumonia shot every year, though, and I took the shingles vaccine too, part. I never got any of the COVID vaccines. Why? Is there a pneumonia shot? I think so. Hey, trailer. It was forced upon us. Now, I went to the vaccine people and I was like, hey, can I have 3? Hey, vaccine guy, can you hold me down and just put some into my jugular? Okay, I'll stop.
To me, John, is 30-year rates, 520 is a key print. We're at 517. 520 is an OMG print.
The price of volatility, is that what we're learning? The price of reducing guidance, reducing communication, being very, very unclear about what on earth they're going to do with policy. Are we paying the price this morning and this afternoon?
But that's why the task forces will be very, very interesting, because they will certainly also on the communication task force.
You didn't get it because, you know, because of the impacts to you, but let's not forget the you know, let's not worry about the impacts to the people it killed, right? The people it killed, like, or was that a hoax as well? Like 1 million people in America and tens of millions of people around the world, were they all hoaxes?
They will have to discuss what is the best approach. Is it the best approach to have no forward guidance? Is it a better approach to have forward guidance? If you do not have forward guidance, you do have more volatility. But in fairness to Kevin Walsh's point, he did say that, well, when we don't say anything, markets are reacting to the data as we go along. But the risk, of course, is that if the market is overreacting to some data, that then also needs to be resolved in the task force on communication, namely, is that the right way to do it? Because it runs the risk, as you're saying, John, that you will have more volatility.
Torsten, thrilled to have you here with this really odd press conference. There was a bombshell in there where he went back to 2014 in a paper he did on the Lucas Crime. Just slipped in there for a second.
Money from
but
Bezos.
To academic
Welcome
economists,
to the
that
noisy crew.
is a bombshell, what he said. And what he's basically saying is the distrust that Robert Lucas, the lawyer, had of models. Are we, I think of Claudia San, Lisa, you mentioned this earlier, the idea of reaction functions. Is this a new, almost model-free Federal Reserve away to Lucas and even away from the giant Olivia Blanchard?
It does lean into the Chicago Stanford School of Thinking, namely that when you have a policy that you're changing, you should not run regressions and look historically at the data up to where we are now, because the change in the policy is going to change how people behave.
Is there a new model then? Is there a new, fresh, worse model we need to discover?
Yeah, because I think he's saying that you can't just look at all the models that look back, because when we are now changing policy, then forward-looking, people are going to change behavior.
And how do you determine an inflation rate across that? If you take DSGE, Richard Clare to Gertler or Brown, if you take the mathematics of that, throw it out the window for this show. But the bottom line is inflation is the measurement we use. How will we measure inflation with a new Warsh-Lucas model?
But that's exactly right, Tom. That's why if you don't have the models that look at the latest data, then what are you then looking at? What are you then relying on for forecasting what inflation will do going forward? So in other words, if I'm not allowed to look backwards and say this is where the data is coming from and the trend is whatever this or that, well, then what am I then using as the guidepost?
I think vaccine skepticism and anti-vax is as bad as climate change denial. Climate denial. Or flat eartherism. It's just so crazy. I don't get it. I don't get it. I just don't understand it. You believe in climate change and vaccines? Was it just the COVID-19 vaccine for you then?
For thinking about what inflation will do going forward.
Was that
10
nerdy
basis
enough for
point move on 30s. There it is. Wow. Almost higher by 11 basis.
Which vaccines do you not believe in? Which vaccines do you not believe in?
Points and closing in on 519. I'm thinking of all the people that would be unhappy with this news conference in the last 60 minutes. Forget market participants. Imagine being at the Treasury right now and you're Scott Bessent and you're seeing yields go higher on 10s, materially higher on 30s. And then I'm thinking about the others on the committee. I'm not an establishment guy. I'm very, very happy to blow things up and have a new era. I've got no problem with that. I'm open to new ideas. But I just wonder how offended some of the sitting officials might be by how patronizing much of that news conference was over the last 60 minutes.
Well, it's clear that the sitting committee that he came into had already thought about basically all areas of the task forces before.
Do you not believe
so it's clear that the market here is saying,
don't worry about where I live.
If we now are getting a day with no hike, well, then the long end, of course, is moving, basically telling you that, well, this is all about credibility.
Short-term bearish market in the U.S., yeah. You said you don't believe in certain vaccines. Which vaccines? Or is it just the COVID one?
Are you really going to follow through on inflation? And that's, of course, the thing that the FOMC needs to go home and think about now. The market reaction speaks very clearly that now we need to talk about what is the credibility of the committee, because it cannot only be talk. You will eventually have to follow through. And that's why...
Just raw dog polio. It's bullshit like this that pisses me off, man. The other day, there was some fucking dude who came in and was like so hell-bent on trying to, this is with what's happening in the DRC at the moment with Ebola, right? Over 1,400 people now have died from Ebola in the DRC, the latest numbers. And here's the crazy thing. Here's the crazy thing is we had people in the chat when I was covering that going, "Oh, Ebola is just a made up thing. It was made by the West and injected into Africans." And my point to these people were, okay, firstly, I just think this is insane to say that. But even if you did believe that, right? Even if you did believe that, would you want to talk about it in a chat that goes out to a global audience? I have had people from the DRC in my chat. I have had people from the DRC in my chat. I will. Because tomorrow's Friday, right? Yeah, I will download Dota and Minecraft too. Dota 2 and Minecraft.
Are you excited?
Are you excited? Yes?
Want some milk?
I don't want some milk. You drink your milk, Fubs. I'm okay. What's the DRC? The Democratic Republic of Congo. Yeah, so again, right? The COVID skeptic lady asked me what the DRC is. I don't expect everybody to know what it is, but yeah, it's the Democratic Republic of Congo. And there are people from the DRC who have been in my live before. And my question to this person, my challenge to this person was, what do you think a person in the DRC right now who is struggling, who is in a state of anxiety, who is wondering if they will get Ebola or not, what do you think they would take away from people selling things that aren't proven, like trying to build narratives that aren't proven to other people who are in the area going through it? How would they feel about your narrative? How would they feel about your narrative? Often, people who like spew this sort of crap in the chat don't think about people who do not have the privilege to say no to these sorts of things. Because they live with these diseases, or they live with these problems on a daily basis. And it's insane. Bro, Galacticos Campos, we're not vaccine skeptics or anti-vaxxers here. I took it 5 times. I asked the guy who was giving the COVID vaccine, I was like, can you hold me down just so I feel like you're forcing it in me? The vaccine, I mean. Can you hold me down and just jab me so that I feel like you're forcing it in me? I want it forced. The vaccine. Of course. Nuts. People who need to take, people don't take the accountability. People don't take the accountability of the words they choose to use, especially when it comes to things like healthcare, because they can type this dumb shit in the chat and then just disappear behind anonymous accounts. I am a father, dumbass. I am a father. My child just walked in and spoke to me just now. I pumped my son's doctor when he was born. My son's doctor when he was born came to me with a fucking list. I was like, can I upsize it? Can I give him 3 of each? I told them, give him the ones with the worms so that he can have friends for the rest of his life, like pets. Yeah. Fuck yeah. I'll give him everything. If they come out with a vaccine tomorrow, I'll give him that one. What's wrong with you?
The probability, given this market reaction now, has gone up quite significantly that they will have to move at the next meeting.
But this is really important. In other words, you're saying that the reaction in the long end of the yield curve is a challenge to the credibility of this Federal Reserve and will force their hand. That if they do not hike rates in September, you will see some sort of unmooring of long-term yields.
Yeah, because the risk is if you keep on just talking tough, and therefore markets end up saying, well, this is just a lot of talk, and you don't deliver on that tough talk, the risk is, of course, that the long end will say, well, if you don't deliver, we worry that you are implicitly allowing inflation to be higher, despite the talk about not allowing inflation to be higher. And that is indeed a question about the ultimate credibility.
I said this before. I asked for the Bill Gates vaccines. You know, the ones with the Bill Gates chips? I was like, give me 3 of those so that Bill Gates can track my ass in real time. I want Bill Gates to track my ass in real time. That's how badly I want the Bill Gates vaccine. And then, just to amplify my location, I want to get the vaccine that turns 5G into COVID. So that Bill Gates could track my ass while I have COVID. And then I could take the COVID vaccine one more time.
Did you say 5G gives you COVID?
You know the vaccines, people. I asked the doctor, can I upsize it? Okay? I asked the doctor if I could upsize it. I asked him if he had a secret menu. Can I have the secret menu, please? And if you're going to put the secret menu in my son, can I have those as well? Can I have like 3 of each? Come on, folks. At which point does your son come in and ask what the fuck you're yelling about? Every day. Every day. Every day. I wonder where the guys who took multiple COVID shots to get COVID cards signed. I don't like the mRNA one because there are long-term studies, only the classics. Nah, I'll take the mRNA ones, bro. Give me the vaccine that that causes the type of issue that Eddie Murphy spoke about in Raw. You know, your dick just explodes. Give me that vaccine. I'll take that one. Is that an mRNA one? Oh, is it? Yeah, okay. Just pump it straight into my dick.
Is the committee ready to vote next time? This was not only Kevin Walsh, this was 9 members who voted to keep interest rates constant at this meeting. So at the next meeting, many of them must look at the reaction today and come to the conclusion, if we want to keep our credibility, we do have to move to make sure that inflation comes down, and therefore ultimately long rates also begin to go down.
Okay, so this one is by CNN. It's Iran war, inflation, Trump tariffs, Israel disapproval. I really like this. This is some data from the USA. This is data from the USA. I get every last vaccine available that I'm supposed to get. I don't play about vaccines neither, Noisy. Yeah, I know, Sun Queen. Like, man, we are a world that's becoming more and more connected every single day. I just cannot understand how people can be selfish when it comes to looking after your fellow human being. I just can't. I just can't understand it. And vaccines are a great way to do that. It's the least we can do to help each other out. Okay, anyway. Iran war, inflation, Trump tariffs, Israel disapproval, and more. Let's go. Here's some incredible data.
This is where President Trump seems so politically tone deaf. I mean, this is what we're talking about, saying, oh, you know what, it's worth it to me. You know, I'm not actually taking part in the midterm elections. But just look at this. Just look at these numbers here. Is the Iran war worth higher gas prices? And I will note this, obviously, this poll wasn't conducted in the last 24 hours. So
Black Zablin, COVID-19 was an exception in this case. Normally vaccines undergo. Bro, if Moderna or Pfizer came out with a vaccine and said, we've been testing it for 2 days, you know, we'd have to chop off the bit of flesh. The side effects are chop off the bit of flesh from the place it was injected. That could happen. I would take that. I don't care.
So this doesn't even take into account the most recent peak. Take a look here. 65% of Americans, we're talking 2 in 3, say no, no, no. The Iran war is not, in fact, worth the higher gas prices. So Donald Trump is here on one end saying, you know what it is, and the American people are here on the other end completely disagreeing with him. on this issue of the Iran war and higher gas prices. The American people feel the pain at the pump, and they very much disagree with the President of the United States.
Clearly, the blame for the war kind of on the president, but is it wider than that? Is the GOP also getting hit as we march towards
33% is still
this is
huge.
Exactly right. You know, Donald Trump isn't technically on the ballot come November, but you know who is on the ballot in the midterm elections? The Republicans in Congress. And if there's any fantasy that is out there that somehow what is going on, the blame that's being put on the White House, won't funnel its way down ballot, well, I'm here to extinguish that false belief. Because just take a look here. Okay, and again, this is before the most recent uptick in the gas prices. Blame which party for higher gas prices during the war? Blame the Democrats? Just 27% blame the Democrats. Look at this lion's share. Again, this 2 in 3 number.
Just to go back to this Black Zablin, the problem is, right, millions of people were dying at the time. Millions of people were dying at the time. Millions of people. So, yeah, they didn't take the 5 to 10 years. If they did, then more people would have died. It's just crazy to me, the reasoning, eh? It's just crazy to me. Basically, what you're saying is, because it wasn't, you know, done in the way vaccines are usually done, of course, not citing the insane situation the world was in at the time. Like, who cares if it doesn't take 5 to 10 years? The whole world was basically reliant on making a vaccine. It was like everyone relied on that vaccine to come out. And the amount of focus, I don't think we've ever, as a human race, put that much focus into developing anything at that level. Like, I think more mind power, more work, more time went into, like, collectively went into that COVID-19 vaccine than any other vaccine in history. I would argue that it did, because it was so important. I just don't think, like, think about how much was being lost for so many people. It's, man, I don't get people's thinking around this. They use base models from the vaxxers. It's not like they whipped up out of nowhere. So frustrating, the misunderstanding of science. Yeah, I agree. But even then, using the base models, the collective energy that went into that at that time, it's just so insane that people don't realize so many people were dying en masse. I don't know if you guys saw the stuff coming out of Italy right at the beginning. My goodness, bro. People were just dying on the side of the road. They were covering people up. And it's crazy that people were like, oh, no, I can't take this vaccine stuff, you know? Maybe they should put that effort now into not killing each other in insane wars, yeah. Yeah, I don't think these chatters understand the collective fast-track research these professionals did. It's nuts. And everyone was fucking dying. You know, for all the crap I give Jacinda Ardern, I think she did an incredible job to save lives in Aotearoa, New Zealand during that time. I actually think she did a great job. The reason why I dislike Jacinda Ardern now is because she didn't use her platform for 2 years to speak up about genocide. That's, you know, that's guiding my worldview so much right now. But Jacinda Ardern did a great job. 95% of Aotearoa, New Zealand got vaccinated, bro. 95%. She did amazing during COVID. I just think people got real shitty at her. Businesses got real shitty at her. But it was such a new thing. And based on the death rates around the world, like, New Zealand fared extremely well.
2 in 3 Americans blame Republicans if forced to choose between the Democratic Party and the Republican Party. Which party do they blame for the higher gas prices? They blame the Republican Party. So all that pain that Americans feel that they are putting the blame on Donald Trump, that idea that it won't funnel its way down the ballot, as I said at the beginning, it is a false belief. It simply put isn't true. Republicans, it is quite unlikely that they will be able to escape the blame that is being put on the White House when it comes to the ballot box come this November. If the gas prices remain where they are, remember, they're going up.
Right, and it's not surprising.
Yeah, Toffee, you see that thinking right there? That's why people will call you selfish, because you did that for yourself. You did that for yourself. You didn't do it for others. But other people who may not be as fit as a fiddle like you can die. But you chose yourself. You chose your ego over getting a fucking vaccine. Just think about what you did. Jesus, these people don't even understand when they've like basically volunteered to commit mass murder. You know, it's stupidity.
They hold the House, the Senate, and the
They
presidency.
hold everything. They hold everything, Sarah. They hold all the levers of power in Washington. No wonder they're the ones that are getting blamed.
Yeah, which is not unusual. If that had been flipped and the Democrats on the same thing, it would be the same issue. I am curious about what happens with the feelings towards inflation as a whole, because all of these things hit your pocketbook. How do Americans feel about who's to blame for inflation?
Yeah, that's exactly right, Sarah. Look, this is part of a larger equation, right? The reason that Donald Trump won a second term in 2024 was because of inflation. Now the higher gas prices are disproportionately affecting.
Jesse, I just think you're. I just think you, the direction you're coming from. Yeah, things are cyclical, but that's why the human race is different to other species, because we can break those cycles. Just to say things are happening cyclically is not good enough. And I think that mindset is in many ways, it is a you've given up. You've given up power to the cycles. That's what it feels like to me. But it doesn't have to be that way, in my honest opinion. Yeah, things can be cyclical, but I think you've fallen victim to the comfort of cycles and thinking that we don't actually have the ability to control this. I'll never put a needle in me other than the blood test needle, but why do you even do that? Why do you care? If you don't trust science, then why do you want to get a blood test? If you don't trust science, why do you trust the blood tests? Isn't that sort of dumb? Like, what if they are lying to you about your blood results?
And making inflation go higher. And just take a look. This is just nutter butter. This is movement that kills parties, that kills their electoral aspirations. Trusted more on inflation. You go back to October of 2024. The reason Donald Trump won that second term in the White House was because he was more trusted on inflation by 6 points over Kamala Harris. The number one issue, the cost of living, inflation, is still the number one issue when it comes to Americans. But who do they trust now more when it comes to inflation? Look at this in the cost of living. Most recent Fox News poll, Democrats.
It's the same stupid shit that transphobes do. It's the same stupid shit that transphobes do. They're like, oh, there's only two sexes, male and female, XX and XY. Firstly, that's scientifically wrong. There are intersex people. But the other reason is also because XX and XY was discovered by science. A lot of these transphobes are fucking like church-going people. Religious people who don't believe in evolution. So if you want to pick and choose science, if you want to pick and choose science, then pick it. No one's going to trust you. It's just like, oh, I'm going to pick and choose science here, but I don't believe in evolution. It's just like the most insane thing. Only science before 2000, yeah. Who are the most corrupt corporations on earth, my guy? Bro, buddy, take your fucking vaccines.
Trusted by 10 points on inflation, a complete switcheroo from what we saw in 2024. Remember, inflation was what kicked Joe Biden and the Democrats out of power, kept Kamala Harris from getting to the White House. Now, this same issue may in fact be what turns Republicans.
It's so fucking funny. Like, Donald Trump's administration is saying corporations are corrupt, while Donald Trump has made more money during this presidency than he has in his whole fucking career. Donald Trump, the grifter fraud, is telling you to be a vaccine skeptic, or at least has hired someone who's a massive anti-vaxxer, massive anti-science guy, and he's telling you that corporations are embezzling you while they are the ones stealing money. It's just, oh my gosh, bro, fuck.
Republicans out of power in Washington, D.C., at least when it comes to the House, maybe the Senate as well. If these numbers hold, it's very hard to imagine that Republicans are able to hold on to the House of Representatives when on the number one issue, the Democrats are trusted by 10 points in a complete switcheroo from where we were just a year and a half ago. These are the numbers that Democrats absolutely love and Republicans absolutely have to despise. And more than that, it is the gas prices that will continue to make these numbers for Democrats go up in terms of their lead on the number one issue. And it's the big reason why Democrats at this point should be favored to take back the U.S. House of Representatives.
It was the number one issue in this past presidential election. They gave their support to Donald Trump. And like you said, that is a huge switch around.
Look at these numbers on Israel, the net favorability.
So let me just ask this person who's like, why did Fauci plead the fifth? Let me just ask you a question, bro. What do you think will happen if you get if you get a COVID vaccine? What do you think will happen? What do you think will happen if you get a COVID vaccine?
They're all negative. They're all negative. Ipsos, minus 10 points. Fox, minus 11 points. Marquette University Law School Law poll. Look at that, minus 20 points. Pew Research Center, minus 23 points. Negative, 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 negative. And Gallup earlier this year was also negative. We're not just talking about the Democratic base anymore. We're talking about the general electorate as well. The general electorate has turned against Israel. This is not just a left issue. It is an American issue when it comes to opinions on Israel.
What's the trend line here?
What's the trend line here? The trend line is unbelievable. Look at the trend line here.
Yeah, this is
Compare
insane.
this to Donald Trump's first term. At this point in Donald Trump's first terms, Israel's average net favorability.
Wow.
You go back here. Look at this. It was plus 51 points. Wow, Johnny says. Wow, Johnny says, because this is wow. Plus 51. It's minus 16 points in the average poll now. That is what, a 60?
What percentage, Fighter? What percentage would get what you said? What percentage would get what you said?
7-point shift against Israel in just 8 years. Israel used to be a consensus issue in American politics, and that was a pro-Israeli position. Now the consensus has actually shifted, and now when it comes to general electorate, it is a minus.
What's POTS? Bro, if you're gonna do conspiracy theory shit in my chat, at least fucking be, use plain language.
Israel is now seen negatively, and we're seeing it in poll after poll after poll.
You just had this vote in the House where 100 Democrats voted against military assistance to Israel. How is that specific issue seen right now?
Yeah, you said wow, right? How about wow again? Take a look here. I never thought I'd see the day military assistance to Israel say U.S. should reduce or end it. Overall, 55% say they should reduce or end it. And it is true across the educational spectrum. 51% of non-college graduates, 62% of college graduates. So this isn't just an issue right among white liberals.
Bro, you keep telling me things are proven, and you constantly share, like, unproven stuff in my chat. Always. Nothing you say is proven. Where is it proven? Hey, Frost. Good morning.
Liberals in Democratic primaries. No. This is true across the educational divide. Even when we are looking towards a general electorate, the majority of Americans believe that military assistance to Israel should either be reduced or end it.
Again, what the numbers are showing is we shouldn't just presume that opposition to Israel or aid to Israel is a political loser now.
Correct.
The numbers just don't seem to suggest that. There's a big Senate race in Michigan, right, for an open seat. There is one candidate who is seen as being more opposed to aid to Israel, Abdul Sayed. What are the prediction markets saying about that race?
Yeah, I think a lot of Republicans
no,
we want to run against Abdullah
TikTok
Sayed.
chat.
We can beat him. Israel, one of the reasons, he's too far out of the mainstream. But take a look at the Kalshi prediction markets. Chance to win the Michigan Senate race. Look at this. El Sayed as the lone candidate, 59% chance, the majority chance of winning that. And of course, this side still includes, he still has to beat Haley Stevens in Democratic primary.
Just quote your source, bro. Just quote your source. Just quote your source. I've told you this. When you share news, when you claim shit, just quote your source. Like you did with Reuters.
She's at 14%. Mike Rogers, the Republican, at 32% chance. So the idea necessarily that Abdullah Sayed is unelectable, completely false, because the bottom line is this. Israel as an issue is not the cudgel that I think that a lot of Republicans believe they can use in order to beat Abdullah Sayed or these other anti-Israel, or at least wanting to reduce aid to Israel candidate. 2028 New Hampshire GOP primary polls. You go back to February, the Vice President of the United States, J.D. Vance, was absolutely crushing Marco Rubio. Look at that. 53% the first choice. Marco Rubio was just down at...
TikTok gives people brain rot. Cass, all platforms have their own brain rot. Asmongold streams on Twitch. Let's be real. What's happened to Ginger, Noisy? Yeah, let me just talk about Ginger for a second. It seems better than fucking, these conversations, but far out, man. Hold up. I'll bring it up.
At 7%. Look at this race now, though. What was a 45-point margin or so, or 46-point margin, has now become just a 10-point margin. Woof, that is a closing of well over 30 points. Now Vance is at 36%, dropping like a rock. And look at Marco Rubio, up there, climbing up to Mount Washington, up to 26%. What wasn't a race in February has become very much a race right now, with the Secretary of State very much closing the gap between him and the Vice President of the United States.
This is February of this year?
This is February of 2026. Yes, it is February of this year. Just in 6 months' time, Marco Rubio has absolutely climbed out of the cellar, right behind the Vice President. And as Johnny B was pointing out to me in the break, this is happening when J.D. Vance is making one of the biggest pushes of his vice presidency in terms of PR. It doesn't seem to be working in the Granite State.
All right, put this in some historical perspective, Harold.
Yeah, okay. So you see right here, you see a 10-point gap, right, between Rubio and Vance. Well, I wanted to look back in prior years to understand where we're sitting VPs who eventually ran. How big were their leads in New Hampshire in the early primary polls, and compare that to Vance. So these are VP leads, early New Hampshire primary polls. Vance is up 10 points, as I mentioned. Al Gore was up 40 points at this point, and he barely won in New Hampshire, right? He barely won over Bill Bradley. How about George?
Bro, it's not about you. Why do you think taking vaccines is just about you? This is your problem. You live your life as if you are the center of the universe. A lot of these anti-vaxxers are extremely selfish people. Selfish in such a massive way. They will never sacrifice or compromise anything. And I believe you are one of those people. You just don't understand the wider implications. It is ego. It is narcissism in so many ways.
George Herbert Walker Bush. He was up 26 points in the early primary polls. And of course, he had to come back and win New Hampshire after losing the Iowa caucuses. So this lead is historically small. You would expect a VP to be much more up in the early polls in New Hampshire, especially with a popular president within their own party. But that is not the case right now with J.D. Vance. He has a historically small lead for a VP, and a lead that has been closing, very much closing over the last 6 months. This is probably the best polling data that Marco Rubio has received, and probably the worst polling data that J.D. Vance has received ahead of 2028. So
this is, again, such an incredible impact. some vaccines are not needed. Oh, wait, I guess you decide that, right? Spirit Winds? I guess you and fucking Joe Rogan decide that. Bro, you're not mature. You're not mature. You're just spouting dumb shit. Just because you're 65 years old doesn't make you a mature person. I just think you're a narcissist and you're self-interested. I am jabbed to the. I took the Bill Gates chip one. I took like 3 of those. The Bill Gates chip ones. I took like 3 of them. I took the brainworm ones, like 6 of them. I've named them as well. I've named them. One's Harry. One's Arjun. One is Steve. The other one is Eric. I've got one Homer. And I've got Ramasinghe. Vikramasinghe. And when my doctor asked me about vaccines, I go, hey, can I also have that secret menu vaccine? Like, I want it all upsized. I want upsized vaccines. Like, do you have bigger syringes? Like, can you give me more? Can I have like the dried version so I can snort it straight into my body? You know, can you just do me a fat vaccine line on this table? I'll just take it all right now. Bro, Spirit Winds, you're an idiot. Just like stop typing in my chat, buddy. Yeah, what? You don't deserve to type in my chat, bro. You don't deserve to type in my chat. You're terrible. You're a terrible human being.
So far.
Very quickly, what are the prediction markets saying?
What are the prediction markets saying? Well, this is part of a national
Crazy.
picture. J.D. Vance was way up in
Absolute
January.
terrible
Chance
human
to be
being.
The Republican nominee, 49% to 11%. But now look at the Kalshi prediction markets. They're again much closer now. Marco Rubio not just surging in New Hampshire, he's also seems to be surging.
Oh, he's bringing up the ad hominem argument. The ad hominem argument. 63 years old. 63 years old on my live arguing about why he doesn't take vaccines. Fucking hell, man. What an absolute imbecile.
Nationally, when it comes to his chances to be the Republican nominee, J.D. Vance's 2028 bid looks to be on a little bit of thin ice at this point. I feel like I'm in bizarro world, okay? Because the definition of insanity is to keep doing the same thing over and over again and hope for a different result. And that is just simply put not been the case with President Trump in terms of the train has left the station and the American people have spoken. They hate these new tariffs. U.S. on new tariffs on imported goods. You know, you go back to November of 2024. Look, 52% of Americans favor him right after Donald Trump's election, 48% opposed. But then we entered the real world in tariffs and Americans saw the effects of them. What happened to the opposition to new tariffs? Up like a rocket. We're talking 63% of Americans now oppose the idea of new tariffs compared to just 37% who favor it. So the bottom line is this. The American people have seen what tariffs have done to the economy, and they simply...
Bro, the rate of fatalities on vaccines is near non-existent relative to the mortality rate of pandemics. Not taking tested vaccines is harmful on the whole. I don't know why it's so hard to understand. Yeah, these people have just not grown up. They'll fall into like these conspiracies because they think they're fighting the system while the system continues to like rip them off completely. They'll be like, "Oh, I hate those I hate those drug companies, but I'm going to buy a Cybertruck." You know? Like it's those sorts of people. Yeah, I'll take that horse tranquilizer. because I hate those drug companies, but I'll buy the fucking moving toilet from Elon Musk. It's the craziest thing. They don't have a consistent bone in their body.
Do not like it and have turned against the President of the United States, who, as I said, it feels like bizarro world because from a political standpoint, it is absolutely insanity that keeps trying to do something that the American people clearly very much do not like.
Bizarro world also because there is a red sun, but that's another
Yeah,
matter.
that's a whole thing.
All right,
Superman.
and the president's approval rating, how has it been? Or how has it sort of mirrored the tariff situation?
Yeah, exactly right. I mean, the tariffs were what set Donald Trump off on a pathway to nowhere, on a pathway to a presidency that is a dead end. Take a look at this. Trump's negative net approval rating. Every single poll since March 29, 2025, that is over a year ago, in fact, days in a row, it's 482 days in which every single poll that meets CNN standards for publication, Donald Trump has had a negative net approval rating. Well, what happened right around March 29, 2025? All polls just before Liberation Day 2025. It was the tariffs. It was the massive implication of those tariffs, the implementation of it, that, of course, many of them got overturned, that turned the American people once and for all against Donald Trump in his second term as president.
Went underwater just around Liberation Day, been underwater every day since. All right, how does the rest of the world feel about this?
Yeah, okay. So the rest of the world doesn't like it either. I mean, that's not much of a surprise, right? But still, it's notable, right? Net approval rating Trump on tariffs. Brazil, 51 points underwater. Canada, 65 points underwater. Mexico, 73 points underwater. Trump has been underwater so long on tariffs, both here.
That guy reported me. Anti-vaxxer reported me and got me a restriction. Great. Thank you, anti-vaxxer. You are spineless.
And abroad, that the bottom line is this: it's almost like he is the Little Mermaid. He just doesn't even come up for air anymore.
And this could have a political impact in the other direction the president wants in some of these countries.
Exactly right. Take a look at Brazil. 51 points underwater there. Well, there's a presidential election going on there. Top chances to win the Brazilian presidential election. Lula, who President Trump does not like, he has now a 63% chance, while, in fact, Bolsonaro, who Trump very much likes, an ally, 25% chance. Donald Trump is killing his allies with these tariffs. Why is this Ossoff's America? And that is because John Ossoff is Hotlanta. That's what we're talking about when you're looking at the prediction market odds. Take a look here. Chance to be the 2028 Democratic nominee. You know, back in January 1, Gavin Newsom was the clear leader of the pack, according to Kalshi, 35% chance. John Ossoff was down at 5%. AOC was down at 10%. Look at where we are now. Gavin Newsom's numbers have absolutely tumbled in the Kalshi prediction markets. An 18% chance, still maybe the nominal leader, but look who is up like a Hotlanta rocket, up to a 16% chance to be the 2028 Democratic nominee. John Ossoff, the senator from the great state of Georgia. AOC right behind him at 15%. But the real mover, at least in terms of looking forward at this very early look, is John Ossoff, tripling his chances from 5%, actually more than tripling, to up to 16% chance now.
And there are other metrics too, right?
There are other metrics. I mean, one of the reasons why that John Ossoff is climbing in the Kalshi prediction markets is there's a lot of interest in John Ossoff, not just in Georgia, but nationally. What are we looking at here? Well, take a look here. Google searches for John Ossoff up 300% versus last July. That perhaps isn't so surprising, given, of course, he is running for re-election. But I will note, it's the most ever for him in a July. Most ever for him in July. So it's not just interest within Georgia, it is interest in John Ossoff nationally, and that is one of the reasons why he is, of course, making a lot of news, and also one of the reasons why he's climbing those Kalshi prediction markets is because he's making a lot of news.
And I noted he's running for re-election in Senate, and that re-election may be able to be something of a vaulting point for him.
Catapult off that re-election. I mean, just take a look at historic Dem performances.
Hey, Rafe,
Georgia
welcome.
Dems for Senate this century. Look at this. The biggest win was Raphael Warnock back in 2022. He won by that race by 3 points.
Yeah, I agree, Shanna. Like these people talking about like vaccines and acting like this are actually like they are signing up to cause people real harm. Like they don't mind taking lives. It's the most hateful thing you can do as a person because it's so simple to take a vaccine. It's one of the worst things you can do to, like, if you don't have a reason to not take it, that would have an impact on you, like taking a vaccine, if you have an autoimmune disease or something like that. Like, I mean, that's, of course people will understand that. But if it's just because of like this conspiracy theory stuff that these people like are constantly going through and ignoring the millions of lives that were killed during COVID just because, they don't care about it is the worst. It's the worst.
Look at how much John Ossoff was ahead in the recent Fox News poll. He was up 13 points. You carry Georgia, you put that into an electoral map, that makes the math much easier if you're a Democratic candidate running for United States Senate. You show you can win in a swing state, and then, of course, you give those spiels that have been going all over social media, which is one of the reasons why his Google searches are so high. You say, hey, this is a coalition that might actually work.
And there are, 77 million other reasons why?
Yeah, I would just say, look at this, 77 million. Top fundraiser for Senate this century. Money is what makes a presidential bid go, and he's shown an ability to raise a lot of it. The top fundraiser this cycle.
Okay, so there's a whole bunch of stuff that I wanted to talk about, but I feel like we've been, I let this get completely taken over by these anti-vax people. But I think the conversation was good anyway. I want you guys to understand, I guess. I think most people here understand. Most people here understand. I just think the people on the fence about this, you can't think critically. Oh my gosh, bro. What the fuck? Being anti-vax because of Big Pharma is like being anti-Semitic because of Israel. Yeah, exactly. Exactly, bro. You've made the right point there. Being anti-vax because of Big Pharma is like being anti-Semitic because of Israel. Yes! Hey, all good, and take care. Yeah, it's like you're just not thinking about it. You're not thinking about the nuances. That is actually a fantastic analogy. I'm going to remember that one. That's incredible, man. It's true, though, right? Like, the reason why it's such a great analogy is because it's perfect. It's conflating things that should not be conflated. Conflating, like, the capitalist machine with vaccines. Most vaccines are developed with public money in academic institutions and marketed by pharma. Yeah. Now that's an incredible analogy. Can I keep that one? Yeah, can I keep that one? Do I need to like quote you every time I say it? Is that how it works? You're Ben Top. Just came up with it. Glad you like it. Do I need to say your Ben Top said?
Those high-tech robots out of China won't be heading here anytime soon.
My mom did not survive the COVID pandemic. I'm tired of anti-vax BS. Oh my God. I'm so sorry to hear that, Frost. I am so sorry to hear that. That's the thing, like, that's the thing, man. Like, people lost people in this. So many people lost relatives, family. It's just crazy that we're still in this mode of like skepticism.
with a new ban just announced by the Trump administration on any new humanoid robots not made in the U.S. A shot across the bow at Beijing as Chinese companies seek to run out in front of an emerging market.
as
In
your
a new
bent top
statement,
says.
FCC Chair Brendan Carr says the robots pose unacceptable risks to the national security of the United States. Carr talking with NBC News this afternoon.
What's key about this is we're acting relatively early so that we don't discover 5 years or 10 years from now that we're too dependent on foreign produced technology at vulnerable points in our supply chain or our economy. And we haven't developed the industrialized base here domestically to produce it.
The ban also includes so-called quadrupeds, like this dog robot on wheels made by the company Unitree. The FCC specifically calling out a reported vulnerability in that company's robots, saying last year researchers identified a potentially pre-installed back door that gave access to the camera feed and allowed them to take control. Unitree saying at the time it completed a majority of the fixes. NBC News reached out to the company about the new ban and has not heard back.
They have had some impressive videos out there, but this is part of our systematic review of technology risks, economic risks, and supply chain risks.
Humanoid robots going viral, displaying a wide range of skills, like running a marathon in Beijing, playing a full soccer match, or even kickboxing. Not every robot works so well. This one in China dancing to Michael Jackson's Billie Jean. And there's this moment when a robot kicked a child, also in China. While they may not all be ready for prime time, they are poised to make big bucks. Analysts at Morgan Stanley project the market could hit $15 billion just 4 years from now. And 2 decades after that, the firm says hundreds of millions could be roaming the streets. Chinese companies like Unitree and Agabot make up a huge portion of the market so far. China pushing back today on the FCC ban, with one top official accusing the U.S. of trying to suppress Chinese companies.
Such protectionist measures will not enhance America's competitiveness. Instead, it only harms the interests of American businesses and consumers.
China's
To be fair, the robot was named the Child Punter 3000. Chat! I love you, chat! Oh my gosh! It was just doing its job. It was doing what it was programmed to do.
Ambitions for its robotic industry go beyond entertaining. The Pentagon reporting that China has been developing large numbers of military UAVs and testing the capabilities of drone swarms that could overwhelm traditional defenses.
Anything that Russia's done in Ukraine, Iran's done in the Middle East, China's ready to do it at a bigger scale.
NBC News' Gotti Schwartz just went inside a company in the U.S. hoping to make humanoid soldiers with a Defense Department contract. Its CEO saying we need to catch up to China.
There are spokespeople from the Chinese Communist Party who are saying that you're not going to beat us on defense and robotics. If nobody was doing it, that would be one thing. But you can't just have one side do it.
Potentially next on the list to be banned, Chinese AI.
Oh, hold on. So when the West was basically doing all of this stuff by itself, and the West was the only side doing it, then it was okay, right? But now that China's doing it and it's moving way faster, then that's not okay. Like, this is the hypocrisy of it. The system that China is working within is the same system that the West has built. The capitalist system. So when the capitalist system does what it's designed to do, they don't like it.
Something that has divided Silicon Valley. Some, like the leader of chipmaker Nvidia.
You know what they're asking for? I'll go back to what this guy said. That guy was asking for equity.
inside a company in the U.S. hoping to make humanoid soldiers with a Defense Department contract. Its CEO saying we need to catch up to China.
There are spokespeople from the Chinese Communist Party who are saying that you're not going to beat us on defense and robotics. If nobody was doing it, that would be one thing. But you can't just have one side do it.
Potentially.
Yeah, exactly. What he's saying there is it should be an equitable market for all. It should be an equitable market for all. When has capitalism ever been equitable? When? And now this next little bit here is like, oh, then they'll ban Chinese AI. You can't make this shit up.
Next on the list to be banned, Chinese AI, something that has divided Silicon Valley. Some, like the leader of chipmaker NVIDIA, support more open source models. Others, like Anthropic CEO Dario Amodei, saying Beijing wants to build powerful AI models to achieve permanent military superiority. All of it posing a new threat to a relationship between the leaders of the world's two superpowers, a tussle over tech that could define the next generation.
Yeah, what is NVIDIA?
And Kelly joins us now. Boy,
what the heck is
I hadn't even
NVIDIA?
thought of some of those implications. National security replacing jobs, and this is all hanging over the planned meeting between Trump and China's Xi coming up in September, right?
That is a big date for the president and for the Chinese leader because two superpowers coming together. Of course, President Trump went to China. This is the return invitation, expecting it to be a big state visit. And it
I did see that
underscores the
quenched.
complicated
Sorry.
relationship between the United States and China when you're considering not only the governmental
Quenched.
implications, but this area of
Quenched.
innovation,
Quenched.
business,
Quenched.
and the global reach of these kinds of technologies and
It's late, yeah.
capabilities. China is always
Quenched.
fiercely trying to move forward, often
Yeah,
threatening
quenched.
American intellectual property, and those dynamics are certainly
thought
a
they
part
sold
of what's
chips.
at play here. The ceremonial visit that's coming in September will be on many issues, but certainly this kind of tech and the future of these technologies will be a part of the discussion. Tom?
But, Kelly, it just appears that, that the scale that China is operating at, it appears it's much greater than anything that we have got going right now.
Well, you often find that in a country where innovation is fueled by the government, whereas we have private enterprise, and that is at times a different kind of dynamic where China can invest in these technologies and has a more kind of collective approach compared to the open market used here. And of course, they're trying to outpace each other. So American innovators are watching what China's doing and the reverse, trying to get the edge, trying to move the ball faster. And with some of these technologies, it's new terrain and new frontiers with the kinds of cautions that also have to be considered.
Yeah. Well, great report. Thank you very much, Kelly O'Donnell.
We thank you for watching. And
oh my gosh, Infected Ghost. Very punny indeed. Very, very punny. People love to mispronounce NVIDIA's name. A lot of people insert an A after the N for some reason. I always wonder why they're doing that. It irritates me, and it's not even my name. All the while, we can't build data centers because people get told they use water. Do you want data centers? Do you want more data centers? Is that what you're saying, Robert? Do you want more data centers?
Tech stocks tumbled again over concerns about AI spending and semiconductor supply.
I think people are learning that.
So if you want to understand why these tech stocks tumbled, ABC News just released this, and I think this will be pretty damn cool.
This is a real threat.
Markets are rattled. Chinese AI has arrived, upending valuations of Wall Street's tech giants.
We saw the NASDAQ 100 fall into correction territory overnight.
I think it's a potentially a bigger DeepSeek moment.
Can you create me a report on GLM 5.2, the open weight model?
Sure. In the heart of Sydney's startup scene, this company has built a platform that puts artificial intelligence to work for businesses.
People can come and build AI agents for various different use cases to essentially automate some really repetitive and boring tasks.
The models powering those agents broadly fall into two camps. Open models, which are free to download, mainly from Chinese developers, don't require ongoing fees every time a task is carried out. While leading closed source models, mostly from the US,
Battlefield Joe says, I got a data center 10 miles from my house and my light bill went up $100. Holy cannoli. Holy shamoli, man. Battlefield Joe, that's insane.
remain controlled by their developers and are far more expensive. Until recently, most of this company's work was powered by closed US models, but Jackie says that's now changing.
Before the start of this year, I would say honestly about 5, if not 7.5% of traffic were mainly in open weights, and then the rest in like more closed source models. As of right now, we're closer to like 20, if not 25% is actually going towards open weights model.
It's a similar story at product engineering firm Pupaclick Technologies.
The main advantage, I would say, are 3 things: flexibility, cost, and ease of use.
They're so much cheaper to deploy is because you can actually download the model yourself and run it on your own laptop or your own hardware. You don't have to pay the tech companies for each time you ask a question.
But there are concerns around trust and security.
Thank you for the follow.
You will at least have...
I'm glad you didn't think our conversation about our honest conversation about vaccinations was bad enough for you to not follow me. What moves did China make, bro? You're listening to it right now. English police, stop policing me. ACAB, we've got ACAB in the chat. Stop it, ACAB. Stop it.
Various biases. It won't, for example, tell you very much about Tiananmen Square. It will tell you things maybe that are favorable to the Chinese regime.
For US tech giants spending hundreds of billions of dollars on AI, the rise of cheaper open models is forcing pretty uncomfortable questions about whether they can recoup the vast sums of money spent building their own models.
It's definitely a threat to the tech companies like OpenAI, Anthropic that are charging lots of money for subscriptions to these services. Now that does raise serious questions about the whole business model that those tech companies are pursuing.
And it's not just AI developers investors are worried about. In the past week, Magnificent Seven firms Meta and Alphabet have been dumped for rising AI spending plans. And a sell-off of chip makers like SK Hynix and Samsung has been driving a dramatic fall on South Korea's Kospi.
We saw a spectacular debut from a Chinese chip maker this week. We've also had the emergence of Kimi. If we were to...
Are you listening, English police? This is the main bit. This is the main bit. Listen. So this is the